And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting outside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Welcome to another episode of NASA Spaceflight live streaming a test from Starbase, Texas in Boca Chica, right near Brownsville. You are looking right now at the base of Booster 9 on the orbital launch pad, and the tank farm has spooled up, and we are now, as you can see from this particular view, looking at the orbital launch mount vent, which is a sort of a purge vent, which indicates that once they're done purging the lines, they will begin to flow either cryogens or propellants into this booster and potentially also ship. And so the road is closed, of course, and we are expecting to see this test today, whatever test it may end up being. SpaceX did previously, before they destacked the ship and then restacked it, mention that they were going to go for a launch rehearsal, which I assume we could call also a wet dress rehearsal. So we'll get into that here in a minute. So this could be some kind of wet dress rehearsal. This could be maybe a cryo test. This could be just some sort of tanking test or some GSE testing. But either way, the road is closed. So we are here live to bring you whatever happens today. Anyways, I'm Jack Beyer with NSF. And joining me on commentary today for this test, at least for starters, is Mr. Trevor Sesnick. Trevor, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's always exciting when we get to full stack testing for a launch that's hopefully sooner than later.
Yes, dare I say full stack testing is best testing. I think that's a fair assessment.
Aside
So
from
joining us
launch
on commentary? Yeah, flight testing. Yeah, I guess of all non-flight tests, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Didn't we do that the other day too? The same exact back and forth. Anyways,
we said engine
Alex
testing.
is also on. Right. Alex is also on commentary. Hi, Alex.
Hi, everyone.
Good deal. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, some sort of testing with the full stack today, per the road closure and per that sheriff. Was that a sheriff tweet or a letter? I'm not even really sure what to call that. But yeah,
It
so
was a
we are.
statement from the judge that was
Thank
tweeted
you.
by
I keep
the
saying
sheriff.
sheriff.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So yeah, we're expecting to see some kind of testing today. Now, we have a bunch of questions from you all, which is good because we like to do a little interactive kind of style of show here. So if you have any questions, at NASASpaceflight in chat, and we'll see your questions pop up and maybe answer them. But as we were waiting to go live and waiting to see that OLM vent and just the tank farm spool up in general, I was adding some questions to the queue. So pro tip, if you want to get your question in at a time where it's extra visible, joining the stream before it starts and chatting then is not a bad idea. But I see a lot of questions here asking about the wet dress rehearsal or what kind of testing. Like here we go. Spaceboy TV is asking, what does big full stack test mean? I believe Chris Bergen on the NSF Twitter account tweeted something to that effect. Spaceboy TV continues, my assumption would be perhaps that they will partially fill the tanks. Other than that, I don't know. Right. So let's talk about today's test. The one thing we do know for sure is that it is not a full wet dress rehearsal because there was no evacuation of Boca Chica Village. It's a standard road closure. Normally, for things that are exceptionally, I don't want to say dangerous, but things where there's a higher risk of an anomaly that could cause damage to people or property, let's put it that way, they will evacuate the village, the Boca Chica village, which, of course, they do when Starship flies. For example,
Not only
they've also done it for full wet dress rehearsals in the past, right, Alex?
tower vent. We have tower vent
Hey,
too. Look at that.
Excellent. So that's kind of the counterpart to the OLM vent, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that is the same as the OLM vent. We'll go in detail of that, but yeah, it's also on the tower. One thing I was also gonna add, because people were obviously chatting about this before we went live, about they could still do a wet dress, and not evacuate people in the village, right? Because it's like, but no, this is a big deal when you load such a huge amount of propellant on board of these two vehicles. It's about 5,000 tons of both liquid oxygen and liquid methane. So it's a lot of propellant that you're loading into these vehicles. And when they do a wet dress, when they do a launch, everyone evacuates the village. Everyone evacuates the production site. Even the cops go up the road. Like they they basically get out of there and go as far as they can. I think it's about 5 miles away, the limit for that blast danger area. So yeah, everyone goes out, and right now I think pretty much everything is going at full steam at the production side, and probably the cops are still there at the usual roadblock side. One of the tricks that we used to use for both the launch attempts and also the wet dress rehearsal when they did one with Ship 24 and Booster 7 was that the cops go up the road as they go into the testing. And so we saw first the cops being at the usual roadblock spot, but then they go up. And when they go up, we know that, testing is going to happen. But here, you see, they have not moved up. So whatever testing they're doing today, it's definitely not a wet dress rehearsal. Now, it could be a partial one, and that will be totally fair. They can do that and not needing to evacuate the whole village and the whole production site or anything like it. But then it will be just partial. Or we could also see a fully frosted vehicles today, like both the ship and the booster, but it might be that instead of methane, they load nitrogen, which is also, it's also been the case at least once for the booster, for this booster in particular, for booster 9. So it could be a possibility as well that they load the entire thing, but instead of methane, it's actually nitrogen, while the other one, oxygen, it's also loaded. Because in that case, there's not a lot of, you're still loading a lot of oxygen into the vehicles, but the other thing is nitrogen, which is not, it's basically inert at that point. I think I touched on the parts that, yeah.
Black Eagle wants a little bit of clarification and says, could they load the LOX tank with LOX, but the methane tank with liquid nitrogen as a prop load test? I think absolutely, right?
Yep. That is precisely what I was referencing here, that there's been tests, especially with Booster 9. I believe one of the first few tests, once it came here with the engines, was precisely, it was filled with a liquid oxygen with liquid oxygen. So the liquid oxygen tank with liquid oxygen, excuse me, and then the liquid methane tank with liquid nitrogen. So instead of loading methane, they loaded nitrogen on that one, on that test. So they could be doing the same thing today. We don't know, right? We'll just look and see what happens.
Good deal. We have a bunch of really good questions here, so I am ready to tear into these as we wait for this thing to get frosty. Just a quick reminder, just to make sure everyone understands what we're watching here. We are waiting now for the tower vent and the orbital launch mount vent that you can just see there on the other side of the booster QD here. This is the tower vent. And that is, again, purging the lines and cooling them down ahead of whatever cryogenic liquid they're going to be flowing through the lines. And then there's also the orbital launch mount vent, which you can see right there. That is the orbital launch mount vent, and that is performs the same function, except for the lines going to the orbital launch mount rather than the lines going up the tower. So the next sort of step in the flow here is expected to be, if this is, if they're going to start loading stuff onto the vehicle, the next step in the flow would be the orbital launch mount vent going into a higher rate of flow that we tend to call waterfall mode. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, indeed. So it usually starts more like a trickle. You can see like some little puffs of venting from that vent, and then it starts growing and growing and growing, and then it reaches a point where it's like the final 5 or 10 minutes of that vent, where it's like a waterfall. It just drops all, especially when there's like no wind at all. It just pulls down the launch mount, and you can see like this big kind of, it's like some kind of mini Vandenberg kind of thing. So yeah.
Cool. So really quick, before we get into more questions, I'm going to just run through some support here. Torstein, thank you for becoming a launch director. That's awesome. Nice high level of membership there. You get all the sweet perks, including including the perks you get at Capcom level, which are, of course, Discord access and all the other good stuff. Bacon in chat, becoming a Red Team member. Thank you for that. Thank you to all of our members. Anthony Kehoe, thanks for the support. They say, wow, a lot of bacon support today. Bacon can only be cooked one way until it snaps like a dried out twig. Bacon. What? No, that sounds wrong.
Doesn't
RC
sound
Horseman?
any more wrong than eating bacon to begin with.
I'm not going to start. Don't forget, I have the ability to mute you.
I'm sorry.
RC Horseman? RC Horseman, thanks for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. If you got a membership from RC Horseman, thank them. Christopher Hele, they are mad we didn't start the stream earlier. Eric Spittle, thanks for becoming a Padrat member. Miles Thompson, thanks for having a Red Team membership for 12 months. And Bideford, wow, thank you so much, Bideford, a $50 super chat. They're saying, hoping I won't have to leave work before test is completed, need a poll as to what type of test. So we talked about this a little bit already. We can go over it again because Bideford is awesome, and we'll help him out. Some sort of tanking or fueling or cryo test today. It might be a partial wet dress rehearsal. It might just be some testing of a prop load test with inert nitrogen in place of methane. It could be something else that I'm not thinking of, but the road is closed and the orbital tank farm is spooled up. The only thing we do know for sure is it's not a full wet dress rehearsal because there was no evacuation of Boca Chica Village, and as Alex was saying a moment ago, the law enforcement is still at the standard roadblock position, not the fallback, like get further away from it in case things get sketchy position. But thank you so much, Bideford. We always see your name pop up, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah, so I think
Sideshow.
the way that we'll
Go ahead.
know if methane is being loaded or not is if the tanks get fully filled. Obviously, it will not be methane; it'll be liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen. But if there's just a partial load, then it is probable, I would say, that they're loading with methane.
Yeah, because sometimes, and this is something that it can be tricky when they start loading stuff on the vehicles to be sure what they're loading, because they use sometimes the methane. Sometimes actually they use the methane side of the tank farm. Specifically, what I'm meaning here is the subcoolers on the methane side of the tank farm. They use that to be able to load that liquid nitrogen when they load that. And by the way, when they do that, that means both the methane tank on the booster and the ship are loaded with liquid nitrogen. Like you're gonna do, I'm gonna do nitrogen on the booster and methane on the ship. Like that is not possible because of the configuration of this tank farm. So once they load that liquid nitrogen, the problem is it appears the same way as when they load liquid methane. But what changes is when they detank, when they start removing that nitrogen from the tank. When they do it with the methane, we can see the recondenser active, right? And we can see that it's one little vent that is right in front of those vent tanks on the right of the OLM. And so we see that venting. Whereas if it's nitrogen, we see the ground tank venting, and very heavily actually when it happens. The ground tank, when you basically bring the nitrogen from the vehicle to the ground tanks, you're basically removing a lot of liquid nitrogen from the vehicle into the ground tanks, and so you need to vent those ground tanks as they get filled up again. And so as they get filled up, you need to remove some of the pressure that builds up, and you can see them venting very heavily. And that's one of the tricks that we use, and that's why sometimes we get tricked when they start loading and we think, oh, it's methane, and then they load it entirely and it's like, well, it's obviously not methane then, and then we see the detanking and the nitrogen tank on the ground is starting to vent, and it's like, oh, and like venting heavily and things like that. And that's when we can realize that, yeah, it was in fact liquid nitrogen while they were loading. So right now it's hard to say. We'll have to see what happens, but there's a lot of clues in the future to look for these things. Don't worry.
Good deal. Let's see here. Let's do some more support, and then let's jump into questions. I see some really good questions coming in. Let's see. Sideshow Bob, thanks for gifting a Red Team membership. Jim Cavett, thanks for also doing the same. Tom Dalton, thank you for becoming a PadRat member and being one for 10 months. Sandra C, greetings from Canada. Thanks for the 2 months of Red Team membership. Terrace, thank you for the super chat. They say you should generally run your car once a week to keep the battery charged and keep the rust off the brakes. What does SpaceX have to do to keep the Raptor engines in the best condition while waiting to launch? This is a really interesting question. Because, I mean, we don't see everything they do, especially when the booster is on the orbital launch mount all tucked away and the dance floor is up. You really can't see the engines at that point. But in general, my gut, and Trevor and Alex, you can check me on this, but my gut is that they don't really seem to do much, at least not when you compare it to, say, like an old space company. I mean, they only recently started putting the booties on the engines when they roll a booster out. Like, that's like a new innovation in Starbase. By and large, they're just sitting there exposed to the salt air, which is remarkable in a variety of ways. Trevor, how do you? What's your thinking?
So I wouldn't be surprised if they do a little bit more than that, because, for example, one thing that they do after any static fire of Raptor engines is they boroscope it to just go through and make sure that the turbo machinery is not too sooty and looks all good after that flight. So that's obviously not something that they do if there is no firing of the engine, but it still shows that there is more work done than we may necessarily think. So I would guess that, there's probably some checks and some purges that they do, but like you were saying, not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but they're not sitting in a clean room until the day before launch or something like that. Like they're designed to be robust. And side note, is there a cooler word than turbo machinery? Because if there is, I don't want to know it. And also, is there an actual technical term for the booties that go on the engines, or are they just called booties? Like if there's an actual term for that, chat, I would like to know. But that's a really good question from Terrace. Alex, do you have anything to add, or should I move on?
Oh, I don't know. I call them socks instead of booties.
That's fair. Because the other engines are kind of like the booster's feet.
And also because I call the booties the engine shield. I don't know.
All right. John Gardner, thanks for the support. 5 months as Red Team member. Jim Cavett, thank you for the super chat and all the super chats you've ever done. There's so many. Thank you. Roland Hines, thank you for the support. They say, do you know why they removed one of the bottom chines? Can we take a look at that? I don't know if that camera's happy right now, but we can take a look at that. Basically, from this view, on the chine on the right, you can sort of see right there at the bottom, right above the orbital launch mount, it's not shiny because they removed part of that cover of that chine over the machinery that's under there, and they were doing some work on that area. I'm not quite sure what exactly they were doing, but we did notice that yesterday, and if you watched the daily video that we published this morning, then you will have seen close-up views of the work that they were doing in that area. And we'll show that also when we have a camera.
There we go.
That's slightly less grumpy. Oh, this one's slightly less grumpy. Excellent. Yeah, you can see. Is that even the cover just sitting there off to the side of the orbital launch mount? I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, they just removed part of the cover and basically looked at it and did work. I don't know. They're doing a lot of, I don't know, how to call it, observation work.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If you have time and you're waiting on approvals and whatnot. You're going to look over everything one more time. You're going to check everything one more time. I'm sure there's things that they would like to test again. So definitely just making sure they've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. I think I know, now that I think about it, I think I know what happened here. It's the pointy end of a chine, and it was pointed down. So maybe they were like, they're just doing some analysis to make sure that pointy end can in fact be pointed down, because we don't want any flaming ends pointed up, right? I've watched enough Tim to know that that's the deal, right?
Yeah, Starship did not follow Tim's advice on the first launch.
Right. This kills the ship. Ethan Kemp, thank you for the support. They say, has there been a full load test with a hot stage ring? No, there's never been a full wet dress rehearsal with a hot stage ring. So, or a full tanking test that would be nitrogen in place of methane. We haven't seen that. So that would be certainly a very, very interesting test to see today. Musical Wolves, thank you for the support. They say, happy Caps Lock Bacon Day. I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm excited for it. Ninja Decimator. Another one of those names that pops up all the time. Ninja, thank you for all the support. 14 months as a Capcom member. They're thanking us for the bacon expertise and all the coverage. Seriously, y'all, thank you so much. Let's jump into questions here. I have one that I do... oh no, that's the Chine one again. That's the Chine one again. Brian Banks with the $20 super chat asking about the Chine again. Brian, hopefully you just heard everything I just said. Here's one for Alex. This is just for you, Alex. I lovingly curated this question from the queue just for you. Michael T is asking, boosters 9 through 12 look identical. Any idea of how the boosters have changed throughout these prototypes?
Boy, well, there's some differences. I really haven't looked into all of them. I do...
Right, so we're not saying this is a categorical explanation of all the differences ever, but...
Exactly.
Like, rattle some off. What are some differences we know?
Let me think. Boy.
This is just for you, buddy.
I do remember some of them, but I don't know if they are really that big of a deal, actually.
Well,
there are some events that have changed here and there, but actually Booster 9 got some retrofits with those, so Booster 9 already have some of those. I'm not sure, to be honest. I know there are changes, but I don't have them right in front of me.
No, I
think the OLM vent stop?
It appears to be stopped, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's trickling.
Or at least, yeah, or at least
I see it just barely.
Very soft, very low in power.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. All right, just a small change of behavior, just a note. Well, okay, Alex, here's
by the way, for this question, that we have had some indications that the heat shielding at the base of the booster has been radically simplified as well, and that's just something that we're going to keep expecting, that as they build more and more boosters, they'll better understand where heat shielding needs to go and whatnot, because they had to do a bunch of retrofits for that on Booster 7, which they would rather not have to repeat again.
Right. And also of note, the tower vent appears to have either really, really calmed down or also stopped. So, interesting change of behavior in the state of things. It could just be a pause, or we could start to see things spool up. Although I don't think spool up just yet, because we didn't see the OLM or the tower go into that sort of waterfall mode we were talking about earlier. Right, Alex?
Yeah, so once they go into waterfall mode, then we can be sure that if it stops, it's probably going into propellant load. Whereas here, it didn't really get like even 10% of what the power of the waterfall mode is.
Right.
So one thing to point out though, this is the first test here at the orbital launch mount in like what, 2 months? So they could be doing just GSC testing in the meantime as well. We also have a full stack for the first time in 6 months, almost to the day, because like we had the Starship launch in.
There's the tower vent right there. Yep.
Some venting here. It's pretty much like the OLM vent where there's like a little bit of venting, just a little bit. And so
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even really call that on, right? Like that's that was more just like a cold pipe in the ambient air. Yeah, go ahead. Continue.
So yeah, I was just thinking out loud here that we might see some kind of GSC testing, ground support equipment testing, before they actually go into the test per se, because it's been a long time since we have had a ship on top of a booster. That's been 6 months and 2 days, right? And then for the booster side, it's been at least 2 months since the last booster's test. So overall, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we're seeing here, where they're doing some testing here and there. It could also be a small hold in the process. They went into the chill down of both the tower and the OLM, and they were like, oops, we're seeing here a few things. We're gonna do a few adjustments and then we'll resume. That could also be the case.
Sorry, I was just typing that British bacon is best bacon into chat because I have no
Yeah, I'm
self-control.
seeing you in chat because people are talking about bacon. Of course, they will be talking about bacon if you are here.
So just really quickly to go back to Michael's question about booster changes. Here's one. Here's a specific question I have. Does Booster 9 have those long CO2 tanks under the chines, or was that a later addition and it has some other configuration of CO2 tank?
Booster 9?
Yeah.
Yes, and so Booster 9 has the long COPVs. Spoiler alert for the flyover video. It's in the works. Booster 10 also has at least one of them, because I saw it on the photos.
Right.
And then
Right.
if you remember, you can see them. And then Booster 11 has the spots to weld them, so at least we know that it has the hardware to get them. And then Booster 12 is like tucking a quarter in the mega base, so we can not really see that. But those are going to be there for a few more boosters. And frankly, it's a good system to have, right? It's the booster's own fire extinguisher.
Yeah, it seems
Right.
like that's a permanent change given the FAA, or the report from the FAA where they had to, or like several of the bullet points, was that they had to increase the amount of fire protection on the heat shield by like over 10 times or something like that. I think it was 30 times or something like that.
Oh my god, the poll. We really have a
let's
poll
see.
about the best bacon.
We do have a bacon poll, and British bacon is the best bacon. I can confirm. Speaking of those flyover photos, we do have a video in the works, but also if you want to look at the photos now, and you're not a member, Capcom members and above, they're like littered in Discord. There's so many photos in Discord, and any level of membership,
L2
I believe,
member and everything as
right,
well.
Rat and above, or Red Team and above, you all get photos as well. So if you're wanting to look at those, go for it.
OLM vent's
Ryan.
back.
OLM vent's back. Tower vent's not. Watching to see what happens next. This is awfully beautiful. It's a beautiful shot. I'm loving the clouds, the sky, the silhouette. And the poll's finished. Best bacon. American bacon. Boo. I think
Well,
that's
it's
only
a very
because British
close
bacon was
poll.
misspelled.
it was
I
very
blame the
close
misspelling.
Because British bacon was 29% and the other one was 34%. That was 5% difference. That's not a lot.
True. Ryan, thanks for the support. They say full stack cryo S24 and B7 did one prior to its wet dress rehearsal. Could be. Very well could be.
Indeed.
Thank you for the support there. Toyota 4x4, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Musical Wolves, thank you so much. They're asking if they can recycle the nitrogen that is used in such cryo testing.
Yeah.
Not all at
Well-
once.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, they can. They obviously lose some of it, but they do detank the majority of it.
Yeah, and actually, in the case of the nitrogen, that's actually the one that is lost the most, because they use it for subcooling the propellants. So they fill the subcoolers with liquid nitrogen, and that boils off, and they vent even more, right? And so there's a lot of venting, nitrogen being vented everywhere. Like these vent from the OLM is nitrogen. When they vent from the tower, that's nitrogen. So there's a lot of nitrogen that is lost. But thankfully, the air is 78% of nitrogen, so it's really easy to come by. and so it's not really that big of a deal. But for the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane, so the liquid methane is mostly, like, almost entirely taken back. It's recondensed, like even the gas, they recondense it back to a liquid and pull it back on the ground tanks. And then the liquid oxygen, some of it is lost for some other venting and things like that, and then the majority as well also goes back into the tanks. We can see they're a very healthy OLM vent. No waterfall mode yet, but healthy, I'd say.
Yeah, we kind of call it waterfall just because it looks like, you know, not just vapor or condensation is coming out of that pipe, but liquid. So that's why we call it waterfall. It was really more of a nitrogen fall. Annie, thank you for the support. They say, we're getting closer every day to 1 million subs. Many who watch every day. Have you requested a daily AM stand-up meeting with SpaceX to get the plans for the day from them? No, because they wouldn't tell us. That's an awful... I mean, that would be nice, for sure. Like, all right, it's the morning. Here's the morning at Starbase. I mean, we definitely don't call them stand-ups, but we generally will, you know, among those in the NSF bunkhouse, discuss, you know, what's happening tomorrow, when are we getting up, who's doing what, that kind of thing. So that's sort of similar. Like, what do we think could happen tomorrow, that sort of thing. Let's see here. RC Horseman, thank you. Wow, $50 super chat. They say, need to get a filly cam to keep horse cam and pony cam company. Chris B will approve. Thank you, RC Horseman. That's a very generous amount of support. And also, another one of those names we see pop up all the time. Andy's father. What's up, Andy's dad? Thank you for the support. They say, Jack, great view on the static fire. Like that diamond. Thank you so much. That was a really... I've dreamt of that shot for a long time. Felt good to get. Mr. Space Repair, thank you for the support. Red Team membership, gifting one. Josh Zero, thank you for the support. They say, what would they do if during a wet dress rehearsal they have an accidental launch?
Yeah.
I mean...
I don't know.
I mean, it just wouldn't happen. There's so many inhibitors and things. And I mean, I get... Are people booing because we showed Ship 26? Ooh.
Yeah,
I saw chat, but I looked too late.
Yeah. Boo.
That's amazing. I'm
Yay,
sorry, Ship 26.
26.
Yeah, yay. I'm changing teams. Yay. Ship 26, yay. Anyways, no, they would... I don't... In
Yay.
the extremely unlikely event that this happened, Josh Zero, they wouldn't just crash it because they don't want to destroy their GSE. You know, maybe they would flight terminate it. I don't know, but that just basically would never happen.
So many things would have had to have gone wrong for that to be the case.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, even down to the test hardware, because when they do these things, they don't load the hardware for launch. Not the hardware, excuse me, the software. They don't really load the software for launch. It's like some dedicated software for that test. So it's like the software will need to know that it's the launch or something. I don't know. It will be very hard in that case.
I mean, they could do like the Able Archer 83 thing or whatever that was. That was like we put a training tape in NORAD and we thought we were about to get nuked, and it was just a training tape in the computer instead of the actual program.
Yeah, I'm sure that...
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
just to say one more thing. I'm sure that there's zero code on the vehicle right now that would allow for the launch clamps to be retracted, let alone engine ignition. I'm sure that's all removed just to be very, very safe.
Good deal. We have a new poll in chat. Ship 26, option A. I like Ship 26 now. Option B. No, I'm a TPS or nope person. Option 3. I only vote on bacon polls, which is currently winning. But technically that makes this a bacon poll, so you can vote on it as that's a kind of a paradox. Okay, we have a question here I want to get to from Ptolemy332. They say, I doubt we would see this today. I also doubt that. But would there be much benefit to start doing static fires with the ship on top? Thanks for your coverage, as always. I mean, I can think of one benefit. Can you guys think of any benefits?
I mean, there might be benefits, but then is it worth it? Right? That's sort of the question.
Can you think of the benefit that I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
It would look awesome.
I knew you were gonna say.
Okay, well, yeah, sure.
Well, then why didn't you say you knew? I asked. But no, if they did do a full stack static fire or any kind of engine testing with a full stack, that would be really cool. I don't think we expect to see that anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause,
long
you know-
term, I see that happening because once you understand the vehicles better, you could do a full wet dress rehearsal into a static fire or something like that to reduce the number of tests that the vehicle needs ahead of launch.
Yep. But we're not quite there yet. Mark, thanks for grabbing something from the store. They say, great job from the Griffiths. Mark, Nicola, and Tilda. Aw. What a lovely sounding family. Tilda Griffith, that's a cool name. They got a patch. Juliet, Charlie Mike, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. Laura Emerson, thank you for the support. 20 months as a Capcom member. Don't forget, Capcom level and above, you get Discord access. You get 150 something flyover photos that we just dumped on y'all yesterday. You get all kinds of good stuff in the Discord. There's a gaming channel where you can see Moldy Space's horrible creations and everyone else's. And yeah, there's a channel for every flavor, everything you want to talk about. So definitely check out the member Discord. It's awesome. And thank you, Laura Emerson, for the 27 months as a Capcom member. They say, why is the Starship booster underneath while the other rockets have them on the sides? This is like a shuttle moment, a little bit. We can tick the shuttle box on the bingo card here. And talk a little bit. Go ahead. From where?
From the chines. From the ones that contain the the CO2 tanks.
Nice.
So maybe they are loading the CO2 tanks now.
That would be great. More blow into the testing here. I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, right. Side-mounted boosters.
Yeah.
One of the things that made the shuttle not as good as it could have been, I'm trying to put this delicately in case Crispy is watching, not as good as it could have been, is the fact that early on the decision was made not to top mount the orbiter, but in fact to side mount the orbiter. And the reason that is, oh god, he said I am in chat. The reason that anytime I talk about shuttle, when I know, oh god, Sawyer's listening
at
too.
The end, though.
Chris and Sawyer are listening to me. They're both shuttle experts. Okay, let me. I gotta focus. When you side mount a crewed vehicle on a stack, I mean, just look at what we've seen with any cryo test or tanking test or static fire here in Boca Chica. The vehicle gets frosty, right? And some vehicles, like Starship, don't have insulation on the tanks. Some vehicles, like the shuttle, and many other rockets, have insulation on the tanks to limit boil-off of the propellants, since they're often cryogenic liquids. And when you liberate, or when you shed that ice and foam, and you have a side-mounted vehicle, there's a higher likelihood that it gets hit and damages the heat shield. That's bad. Shuttle, good, but that's bad. I'm trying to be really delicate here, Crispy. I love the shuttle. It's a beautiful machine. It's an amazing accomplishment that humanity was able to pull off. Also, I kind of hate it in a lot of ways, but please don't fire me. So to answer your question in the most roundabout way, Laura, sorry for the rambling answer. Side-mounted is more dangerous. It's more complicated technically because you have off-axis thrusting, or you just have different things that you have to deal with. But the main thing that jumps to my mind is you're more likely to get hit by something being liberated off the booster, and that's no good for the heat shield. Does anyone else want to jump in on this?
Okay,
No,
but
I just
Falcon
want to
Heavy
say
looks
that
cool.
Falcon Heavy looks cool, and I just want to say Endeavor is the best shuttle.
It's Atlantis, you're wrong. I sense a new
Endeavor.
poll coming soon.
It's Endeavor.
It's Atlantis.
You have to
Cool.
choose one, man.
Uh-oh, both
Let's-
Sawyer and Chris disagree with me.
Man, chat is on fire today. People are saying ding ding, they want the flight mode. Don't give Kevin ideas. Shadowgunner66, thanks for the support. They say pork belly bacon is better than back bacon. More fat equals more flavor. That's a fair assessment. I don't disagree, but I just love me some short back bacon. Sean Howard, thank you for the support. 13 months as a red team
look
member.
At that.
The venting from the chine, look at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
You can see some kind of condensation above that vent.
You're
So it seems like they're loading those chines with the CO2. My guess is that they loaded liquid, like in liquid form, liquid CO2, because it's denser that way. And then when they vent it, it turns into vapor, basically. I don't know. That's my own guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's just standard. Tank is cold, therefore has vapor emanating from the sides of its tank walls. What? We have a pole. We have a new pole.
It's
a
rigged.
shuttle pole.
Rigged pole.
It's not rigged. It's just properly illustrating reality. Is all it is. It's not rigged. It's not a rigged pole. I will say though, I do have a small quibble with Columbia and other. Like, what? Other? No. Anyways. Let's see how that poll does. But I bet it's Atlantis because it's the best one. Sean is asking, is this the first big test on a weekend? Thanks NSF for keeping us excited about space travel.
Oh.
No, they tend to try and be more sparing with weekend tests, but it doesn't feel like that lately, right, Alex?
Yeah, they did. The first static fire test of Booster 9 was actually on a Sunday. I think it was August 6th, if I remember correctly. Yeah, August 6th. Don't ask me how I know that off the top of my head.
That sounds right.
How do you know that off the top of your head?
I've done too many Starbase updates.
Aha. Well, that'll do it. That'll do it. Here's one from Bill Dyer. Given the judge's letter that the sheriff tweeted, thank you for that clarification, Trevor. Bill is asking, is there going to be 2 separate ships being tested? Sorry, the grammar error. Wouldn't it be, are there going to be 2 separate ships tested? Anyways, I'll stop. Do we think, based on that letter, that something might happen with Ship 26? My gut says no, because it's connected to the crane and just sitting there. Maybe they roll it back. I don't know. I don't know if you call that a test, but what do we think? Alex, go first.
Well,
yay. I mean, yay.
Boo!
No, yay. It's muscle memory. It's muscle memory. I messed up.
Muscle memory. I don't have any of that. So, the letter says, this sound closure is necessary based on unique circumstances involving testing of 2 separate starships in preparations for upcoming launch approvals. So, the way that we initially read it, there were 2 ways, right?
Yes.
One was
tell us the ways.
Well, they're gonna they're gonna test the full stack and they're gonna test Ship 26. But then Ship 26 was connected to the crane. And so I think the other option that we were also thinking back then was that what they were referring to is the full stack is 2 Starship vehicles. It is the booster and the ship. And so that could also mean that it's basically just referring to the full stack. And this is pretty much what we're seeing. I don't think they will be testing at all with that crane connected, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Just one, based on how Ship 26 is configured right now, connected to the crane, and 2, how a Starship and a booster are 2 separate vehicles that come together to make 1 vehicle. It's a weird way to word it, though. It's a weird way to word that.
It's so
Name SpaceX.
horrible wording.
Yeah. Trevor, do you have anything else to add, or should we move on?
No, I don't think so.
All right, I'm updating everyone on the poll. The winner of the poll so far is Atlantis. Moving on.
Rigged.
It's not.
It's rigged.
It's just a reflection of reality. Reality's not rigged, Alex.
Oh, of course. Now they stopped the poll. Of course. Now that Atlantis is winning.
So we're continuing to look at Ship 25 and
More
Booster
venting.
9. Look at that chine go. Now that's
Wow.
not just condensation rising from a cold tank inside the chine. That's like a full-on
That's
vent.
venting proper.
Nice. I mean, it makes sense. As you fill a container with cryogenic liquid, at some point you're going to need to purge some of that head in the tank. I don't know if that counts as ullage or what, but there's a space in the tank above the liquid that is gas, and you need to sort of empty that gas out in order to fill more into the tank. Neat.
Imagine how this will look like once fully loaded.
I was just about to say that. I love Booster 9 and Ship 25. They look so much cooler and more refined than Booster 7 and Ship 24. The chines look so much better being all the same size.
Yeah.
It's just what a beautiful machine. It's got delightful little greebles like vents on the chines and the little circle things, whatever those are. Like, just utterly beautiful machine. I'm so glad we get to just stare at it for hours with really good cameras and hang out and just do this. It's so fun. Alien Activity, speaking of being able to do this, thank you for the support so that we can. Alien Activity is saying, please, this is coming from a Canadian, we eat normal bacon here. What you call Canadian bacon is back bacon. I'd be very upset if that was served to me here. All right, fair. Kim Pimmel, thank you for the support. They say, what's that fin-shaped metal thing at the base of the booster? That is the bottom of the chine. There's one of the chines has had its bottom pointy bit removed and has sort of been laid aside right there on the OLM. On the left side, you can see it just near the clock. I assume that's what they're asking about. Catboy Rocketry asking, can we get a Ship 26 dedicated 24/7 live stream? Perhaps. There's that work that they were doing on that chine. You can see the cover there on the left, the pointy bit, and you can see the tankage underneath that cover there on the right. That's what they were working on yesterday. If you want more views of that, where they were actually doing some work, check out the daily video we published this morning. It's a banger. It's like 20-something minutes long.
Yeah, that's one of the COPVs.
A lot going on.
And also, I think there's like some.
Is it a COPV though? Because it's made of it's made of metal and it's not composite overwrapped. Or is this a different tank?
It is. No, yeah. This is a COPV. The CO2 tanks are properly like metal cylindrical tanks, but these are
right,
COPVs.
And those aren't COPVs.
Exactly. The two chines that are closer to the tower are the ones with the CO2 tanks, and the two that are not closer to the tower, the other ones, are the ones with the COPVs inside. So this
I'm being informed by Mr. Bergen that this morning's daily video is pinned in chat. If you want the link to it, it's right there.
Nice.
Sorry, Alex. Please continue.
No, yeah. So I think per each of one of these chunks, I think there's like 5 or 6 COPVs. I don't really remember exactly the number though, because it's a bit fuzzy up there in my brain. But I think it's around 5 or 6, about a handful. In a good first approximation, I guess.
Right. Good deal. Jim Cavett, thank you for the support. They say, okay, I'll give Ship 26 a good flamey test. Yeah, Ship 26 good, especially with the extra context that we got from SpaceX via a tweet shortly after the test. That was a simulated, what was it, a simulated deorbit burn, right, Trevor?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the tweet right now, actually, so I can paste it in chat. And SpaceX's wording was, single-engine static fire demonstrating flight like a startup for Starship deorbit burn. And then they tweeted 2 really cool videos from it, both from drones, it looks like. So it's cool to see SpaceX starting to think about the descent portion of the flight profile, and this is not testing that we saw ahead of Booster 7 and Ship 24's flight. So maybe this could suggest that SpaceX is more confident in Booster 9 and Ship 25 reaching the point where they would need this burn.
It's not
Wait,
a bad
I take
read.
that back. They're not doing a burn. My brain isn't working today. Ignore everything I just said. I'll post the link.
It's good that they're thinking about it, right? Because you don't want to have an issue where you get Starship into orbit, then you can't get it out, and then you have this giant, massive, uncontrolled thing. Like, that's bad. So either way, it's good. It's good that they're thinking about it. And secondarily, maybe this is my tinfoil hat talking here, but I sort of just feel like maybe that's in some way related to regulatory stuff from the FAA, where they're showing the FAA like, look, we did this specific test to show that we're not going to leave on-orbit debris. Oh, okay. I see how it is. You're going to play the drone shot. You're going to play SpaceX's drone shot. You're not going to play my high-speed video. All right, that's fine. No, that's okay, Kevin. That's all right. I'm not.
It's Patrick.
It's Patrick. It's Patrick. Yeah.
Oh, Patrick, we're enemies now. All right, moving on. Good question there from Space Wolf about the point of the single-engine static fire on Ship 26. It was a really interesting test. I mean, super neat. We have another one in the same vein. Let me see if I can dig it up. We've got a bunch of good questions in the queue. Where was it? I'm sorry, I gotta find it. I can't find it. I'm a failure. Here's one. James Atkinson is asking, does Starbase still use robotic dogs to test for gas, etc.? I don't think we've seen one of those rodogs, if you will, in quite a while, like a long time. The last time I can remember... Go ahead.
I feel like the last time I remember seeing them was after flight.
Right. Or after a static fire.
Yeah.
The last sign of them I saw at all were when they moved the HLS nose cone, the SN 21 nose cone. When they moved that from the mid bay to the other side of the Boca Chica village, when we were shooting that inside one of the buildings there, when the door is open, you could see. I think it was one of the dogs, like dog houses, but I didn't actually see the dog. So let's see. So yeah, I didn't. That's the last time I saw any evidence of them existing. But who knows? Maybe they're using them in some way that we just don't see. Moving right along. I wish we did know, because those things were cool. Redness is asking, are they using the newly installed subcooler pumps, Alex?
Nope. That was an easy question. It is installed, but not plugged in, basically.
Right. So they've recently added two additional subcoolers, which are affectionately called hippos by some.
Yeah, for the methane side, for the oxygen side, that was 4. They basically doubled, because the methane side had 2, now it has 4, and the oxygen side had 4, and now it has 8. But those extra subcoolers they have installed, they are not plugged in, they're just there installed. They have some of the tubes, but they are not connected to the tank farm. And for the pumps, it's also the same. Like, I think they have installed 2 for the oxygen side and 2 for the or 1 for the methane and 2 for the oxygen. I don't know, but the things that they have installed, it's there, it's put in place, but not plugged in. I guess that's yeah,
still some plumbing work to be done, which makes sense because we've seen a good amount of insulated GSE piping going to the launch site from the former tracking station area where they are assembling it. So definitely some more work to be done to plumb those subcoolers in, but they're working on it.
Yeah, and
actually, you can see it right there. Hang on, Alex. You can see it right there. So look at the left car at the roadblock, then look above it. There's a truck way off in the distance. To the right of that truck, there is a container or a black rectangle. Right around there is where that's like the entrance. That's like the entrance to the former tracking station. Right beyond that is where they work on the GSE pipes, at least right now. It's a sort of a new development. Anyways, Alex, say words that sound smart. Go.
Now, you also sound smart. Don't be yourself. What I was saying is that there's also the fact that if they want to plug in the new stuff, then they have to cut through all of the already installed pipes and all of the already installed GSE and everything. Like, they have to basically cut through, and that means rendering unusable the tank farm if they were to use it or whatever. Like, this test today wouldn't be able to be done unless they plug everything in And once everything is plugged in, they need to test it, right? And we haven't seen like GSC only tests or things like that. So, and I'd say that's pretty much waterfall to me. What do you say? That looks.
I'm looking.
Yeah.
It looks pretty waterfall-y.
It's just like Niagara Falls.
So we might be 5-10 minutes away from the start of the propellant load.
Excellent. Excellent. That's what we want to hear. Let's see. Good question from Redness there about the subcoolers. Colin is asking, could they be testing the deluge system as fish and wildlife are there? Trevor, what do you think?
I don't think so. We haven't seen any indications of that system being active. Generally, before those tests, they'll do a very low pressure drain of the whole system to clear out any debris, and we haven't seen any of that. So my guess would be no.
Makes sense. I would agree.
Also, they have the whole thing coordinated with the ropes, and I think the OLM vent is out. So that means the start of at least the indication of the start of the liquid oxygen load, unless they pull some kind of troll or something on us. But that will be an indication of liquid oxygen starting. So in about 5 to 10 minutes, we should see some frost on the liquid oxygen tank of the booster.
Excellent. That's what we want to see. You know why, Alex? You know why we want to see that?
Why?
Because more data is more better.
Oh, yeah. The next thing that I'm looking at right here on all the cameras and everything is that the methane subcoolers should be firing, like there's some kind of vent that fires sideways, and that is sort of like the indication that we take for when they start loading things through the methane side of the tank farm.
You mean
And I think
sideways?
it's yeah, like sideways. I think it's starting up right now.
Sideways.
Sideways, whatever. But you can see it right there. It's starting up right now. Look at that.
It is. Awesome.
It's
So that-
right there where it says fish on the ticker, a bit above that. That is a sideways vent or sideways vent. That is the one indicating methane load.
Excellent. So that hopefully means methane is involved in today's test, which would make it a wet dress rehearsal, not a cryo test or a tanking test. We'll have to sort of wait and see what other tea leaves we can read here and determine what's going on exactly. We don't get word from SpaceX like officially, like today we're going to do this. So,
Ooh, but you know what?
you know,
Maybe
what?
we'll get a tweet.
That would be nice.
That would be very,
That
very
would be
nice.
nice. Every now and then, SpaceX has been doing those little, like the tweet we got after the Ship 26 static, for example. Wow, you can really see the orbital tank farm doing its thing. That's the LOX side, right, Alex?
Yep. Definitely is looking like they're loading propellants, and we're gonna have a very clear indication in a few minutes as we see that frost is starting to build up on the booster. This is the booster first, I think, because I haven't seen anything yet on the ship side of things here.
Good deal. I'm going to run through some support because we got a bunch and I don't want to get too far behind. If either of you see any good questions you want to answer, throw them into the queue and we'll get to them here in a second. And y'all in chat, if you have any questions, at NASASpaceflight, and we will potentially answer them. Krillix, that's like an underwater dubstep musician. Anyways, thanks for becoming a Padre member. I thought it was funny. Beast, thank you for the support. LSR, thanks for the support now and always. Another one of those common names. They say, if the FAA takes a bit longer, do you think they would do a low thrust static fire on the ship to see how the hot stage ring rolls holds up, or would that be too damaging? I think it would be too damaging. Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, there's 0% chance of this happening in my opinion. Because even low thrust of Raptor is about 40 to 50%, we believe. So even if you just fire a single one of those, that's still over 100 tons of thrust. And the other thing that Alex always brings up that's an important point is the conditions at sea level are completely different than the conditions that the hot stage ring is meant to be used under, because it's going to be higher up in the atmosphere, which therefore means that there's lower density, which means that the exhaust will expand a little bit more. But at the end of the day, what you really don't want is to have a dangerous test like that right next to your launch pad that has taken years to build and then months to fix after it was damaged after the first launch. So definitely not going to see any testing of that kind.
Good deal. Moving right along. If my iPad will cooperate, come on iPad, be good.
I think the
Kelly,
kind of activity
go ahead.
that we're seeing here with because the vent that we can see here in this view right now to the left, or well, now it's behind the tanks, but that vent that was going on, that is the one from the recondenser. Thanks. So that vent on the left, that is one from the recondenser. So that's basically methane activity going on.
Excellent. So getting slightly more confident in calling this a at least partial wet dress rehearsal.
Look, you can start to see the discoloration on the liquid oxygen tank, and I think we're going to see frost very soon. Oh, I can already see it. There's frost already on the vehicle. So there we go.
Good.
Confirmation that liquid oxygen load is well on the way.
Excellent. That's what we want to see. Look at the frost go. This will be fun to see it slowly creep up the sides of the booster. Sometimes it goes slow, sometimes it goes insanely fast. Oh, and look, the engine chill vents.
Fire
Or
suppression.
the purge vents, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Fire
purge
suppression,
vents.
thank you.
Yeah, because that's what they called it on the report thing for the FAA, so it was like, yeah, whatever. The fire
Nice.
suppression vents.
Yet another thing that Booster 9 has that Booster 7 didn't, that I think looks so cool. Remember, like, SN4 era, when we were talking about the tri-vent and all of that? Maybe that was more SN8 era. And they're like, do you think when they have 20 outer engines on the outer ring, will there be 20 vents? And we're like, nah, that's too many vents.
Well, it's not 20, it's 18, but hey,
Right,
we're close.
right. Kelly, thank you for buying something from the store there. They say, thanks for being my favorite YouTube channel. I have learned so much about spaceflight from you in the past few years. I look forward to hanging up my calendar. Aw, thank you so much. It's very sweet of you. And they bought a calendar. Speaking
Oh,
of,
nice.
we have calendars.
But it comes.
Chardy Van Reel say, is there any intel on Raptor 3? Are there any ships or boosters at the production site with them installed or in storage? Here's the thing. As we watch this frost really go ham here, we don't really have a lot of visibility into two things that we used to have really good visibility into. One of those things being production of new aft domes and sections at the production site, because Star Factory has subsumed some of that role, and we don't have good views into the Star Factory the same way we had good views into the tents. Also, they used to flip those bulkheads and ring sections out in, like basically next to the gate to the facility. So you could just see them flip it, and as they flipped it, you could kind of look at where all the engines attached and deduce things. We no longer. I mean, I can't remember when I saw the last dome flipped. It's been ages. Two is just Raptors in general. It's real sparing to see a Raptor at Starbase these days. Not because they're not there. They are. There's loads of them there. But they're sort of tucked away in the same way, where they're in a purpose-built building now. They're delivered to a purpose-built area now. And so gone are the days of yore where Raptors would just be delivered out by the front gate with like memes taped to them, that was a fun time. That was a really fun time, but not anymore. All that said, even without that visibility, I do not think that there are any Raptor 3s at Starbase right now. I think that's still strictly a McGregor thing. Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, so the last update we got on, and the only update we got on Raptor V3 was from Elon on May 12th of this year, where he said Raptor V3 just achieved 350 bar chamber pressure, 269 tons of thrust. Congrats to SpaceX propulsion team. in that with those 33, and with 33 of those engines, the total thrust will be 8,877 tons. Since that, we haven't heard anything. If you compare the time between Raptor V2 first firing and Raptor 2 being on vehicle, it was almost 2 years, I want to say. And of course, that has the caveat that they had a bunch of other work to do on GSE and whatnot. But I think it'll be a pretty long time until we see Raptor V3 engines at Starbase.
Yeah, and also I would like to mention that's basically the last intel, right? That we have the only and the last, which is basically
Yeah.
Elon just talking about it back in May, and since then we haven't had anything. But definitely, we look at Raptors being tested, right, through using McGregor Live, and the advantage of that is that sometimes we can guess when they're doing something new. For example, I think yesterday was, or maybe the day prior, they were testing. It seemed to be the same engine on one of the stands, and they tested first. It didn't end up the test very well, and then a few hours later, it was already nighttime. We saw another test of an engine, and it was pretty much sparks all around. Like literally, as it started up, it was all sparks. So my thinking was that, oh, this is the same engine, right? And they're testing it to failure. Like it didn't go well on the first test, and now they're like, okay, well, if it fires, it fires, and if it blows up, it blows up, right? But it might have been actually two different engines, which is funny. So they are willing to test, engines to failure or whatnot. So maybe they're testing some kind of these, far future prototypes, whatever, like some Raptor 2 block, whatever, or Raptor 3, whatever you want to call it, right? And so they're probably testing these, but until we see it on a vehicle, it's gonna take a while. It's not sudden.
Right.
It's not right away. It takes a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Chardy, thank you for becoming a launch director member for 14 months. Oh, God. Why do I hear myself?
Do you hear yourself? Well, that's good.
Not
'Cause
anymore.
It means that you can.
Nope. Not anymore.
can-
Okay, that was
okay.
weird. Anyways, moving along. Thank you again, Chardy, for being a launch director for 14 months. That's awesome. Kyler, thanks for the support. They say, how will Starship keep propellants cool during the journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond? Mars Starship will need its cryo for over a year. That's a really good question, and one I'm going to throw to Trevor because he's Mr. PV equals NRT.
It is so sad that I had to look up that equation the other day. Anyway, the answer is most of that propellant will be stored in the header tanks on the vehicle, and those are pretty well insulated from everything. So that alongside space just being cold, it seems like they probably will be fine. However, SpaceX
Ooh.
has some. Oh,
I'm seeing frost already on the methane tank.
oh
of the
yeah.
booster. We have frost on the methane tank.
Excellent.
But SpaceX does have studies for how to deal with cryogenics in space for long periods of time. So I'm sure they'll learn a lot from that.
Yeah, hopefully so. It's one of those challenges that will surely have to be addressed at some point, and surely has smart people at SpaceX currently working on it. Paul Freeman, thank you for the support. They say 3 years goes fast with a 36-month Capcom member milestone. They say, thanks for all the great coverage, team. Let's see what the next 3 brings. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine 3 years from now? It's going to be awesome. So we are watching the ship and the booster now, well, primarily the booster right now, get loaded with liquid oxygen. And Alex, should I say this? What we think is probably liquid methane?
So far, it looks like it might be liquid methane. Again, sometimes they like to pull a little bit of a trolling on us, but it looks like it is methane. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's just a watch and see situation. Definitely frosty stuff. And as you mentioned, more data, more better. So, yay.
Right.
No, Frosty
Yeah, and
Stack.
hopefully we get some data in the form of a tweet from SpaceX at some point today or in the coming days about whatever testing that they're doing, so we can answer more definitively. But indications lead us to suspect that they are loading both liquid oxygen and liquid methane on the booster right now, as you can see by that frost line right there on the booster's common dome section, which would be the bottom of the methane tank and the top of the LOX tank. Good deal. This is awesome. I mean, this is an important test to get knocked out, whatever it is that they're testing, ahead of launch. I mean, this is classic pre-launch flow that we saw with Booster 7 and Ship 24. So I would say this is a good sign. This is one of the checkboxes that needs to be checked before we can answer the question of when hop. Let's see here. Westy the Third is asking us to clarify the process of an evac notice for the village. How does it differ from an overpressure notice? Well, an overpressure notice just says like, hey, if you hear a siren, you might need to just be aware, like step away from windows or step outside, that kind of thing, because there could be an overpressure event. An evac notice is straight up like, you're going to need to leave Boca Chica at this time on this day, sort of deal. So it's much different. An evac notice literally means they're evacuating the village. They don't do that for static fires. So, two different things. There is no evacuation of the village today, which is why earlier when we were trying to wonder about what possible testing that they could be doing, one of the options was not a full wet dress rehearsal, because without the evacuation of the village, that's just not a thing that we think that they're going to do.
And it's not just the village, as I mentioned as well, that is, when they do a wet dress, it's like everyone, even the police, just get out of there. And the roadblock is at the usual spot. There's nothing really different as... Ooh, look at that. Tower vent.
Our event's going, so we should start...
Mode.
Excellent. That's what we want to see. So the next thing would be what, Alex? It's shutting off and then the ship's starting to get frosty?
Exactly. The same process that we've seen here for the booster will happen with the ship. It happens first with the booster and then the ship on top. But yeah, you can see there a very healthy tower vent. It kind of looks like the Team Astronomy event of the Stromback for Falcon 9. So can we call this the best vent for Starship? I don't know. I feel like it kind of has to. I don't know.
We might need a poll of all the different vents. Because I don't know, I'm undecided. It is a good vent. I'm not saying it's a bad vent. It's a good vent. But the best thing is when it stops and they start loading propellant onto the ship. It's hard to like a vent that's the best when it stops. Let's see here. This one I don't know the answer to. Maybe one of you does. Matrix is asking, is there anything covering the holes on the deluge plate, or are they open to the environment?
Yes.
We've seen them put tarps on it before. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I believe they also have a plate that they leave over the holes, especially while they're working, so that they don't drop anything in it. And I imagine also so that they don't like step in them and whatnot.
Right. Let's see.
It's the Cape vent.
It's a good vent.
But it looks like
Less
the tower has a
537. Oh yeah, it does. That's pretty funny. Super Tower. Less 537 is asking, has there been testing of a 9-engine thrust puck at Starship? Has one been built yet? I don't even think one has been built yet. If it has, we haven't seen it.
I would be shocked if one has been built, and we definitely have not seen any at Starbase.
Yeah, and one difference here is that the puck is like the center of because the outer RVAC engines are connected to the dome, not to the puck. So this is a really important difference, because we could see domes for aft domes for ships way in, like, I don't know, ship 35 or 40 or whatever. but we won't know until they actually cut in the holes in all of the necessary hardware to be able to connect the RVACs. Because the 3 center engines are the ones that are connected to the puck on the dome. So the other the RVAC engines are basically just on the dome. And so until we actually see a completed dome, we don't know. And I think up until now we've seen perhaps up until 33 or 34 might have been, and we haven't really seen anything about 9 engines. So
Right.
take
It's
it as
been
you will.
quite a while.
Mhm.
It's been quite a while. Mr. ACP1911, thank you for gifting 5 red team memberships. And Music Duck, such a cute name, thank you for gifting 10 red team memberships. Let's see. There's some other gifting here. Oh, Ted E. Bear, aw, also a cute name. Upgrading to flight engineer. And Jeff Rowe, gifting 1 red team membership. You might be wondering why I'm going through all the members specifically right now. David P. Garrison, becoming a PadRat member. You know why? Because we have the members-only multi-stream. It's a thing. For big tests, we do this members-only multi-stream where you can see all the cameras at once, or most of them, or 9 of them. But
this is
that's
great.
that's a
Go
perk.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I
That's a
was gonna
perk you
say,
get, Trevor.
while we have this up, this is a great time to point out that the OLM vent is back, which should be for the last time if I remember correctly.
Yeah, usually when
What do
it
you mean
comes
last
back,
time?
it means.
Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was gonna say usually when it comes back, it means that they have stopped tanking. For the liquid oxygen side, at least, not fully sure if the methane side is gonna continue, but that will mean that this might be it for the booster, basically. Might be. Not. I'm hedging here because they could stop and then continue with the tanking. But hey, we'll see what happens. So he stopped right now,
Interesting.
but it doesn't mean that just because it stopped means that they're still
And started.
tanking and now it started again. That's what I was gonna say. That it stops and then starts again. It stops, starts again. So yeah, that's the usual
And
stuff when they
that's
are
why-
holding.
And that's why you hedge.
But
Matthew Dahl, go ahead.
just before you continue, the tower event has stopped. So maybe now is the time for the ship.
I sure hope so. I want to see a frosty booster with a frosty ship on top. Sounds like my kind of ice cream cone. Matthew Dahl, thanks for the support. Couchy7? C7 Ouchie, thanks for the support. 7 months as a red team member. Thank you for the kind words there. Ilya, thank you for buying something from the store. They say thanks for the awesome coverage. How long do you think it will take to getting from the launch permit to the actual launch? I hate to make the joke, but I'm going to make the joke. 2 weeks. Ish. Maybe a month. I don't know. Somewhere in there. Cameron, thank you for the support. They're asking, in our opinion, do you think the clearance between the ship Raptors and the interstage dome will be an issue during stage SEP? This is a really good question from Cameron. I don't know if it will be an issue, but I worry that it might. Trevor, what do you think?
I don't think it'll be too big of an issue because the ship should yeet out of there quite quickly. So my guess is no, but we'll see.
Alex?
I think it might be an issue, but I don't know. They'll figure it out.
I do wonder how much taller. Like, could they make the interstage 2 rings instead of 1? Is there enough margin on the tower and the chopsticks and all that? That block is awfully close to the top of those pulleys there. I wonder. Ross, thanks for the support. Back bacon or streaky bacon? I like back bacon. I also like streaky bacon. All bacon is good bacon, as long as it's not rotten bacon. Jeffrey, thank you for grabbing stuff from the store. They say thanks to all of the amazing NSF team and supporters. Well, thank you, Jeffrey. What'd they get? Oh, they got the Starbase calendar. Nice. Rankley, Thanks for the 15 months of Red Team membership. They say, Jack, where does S26 rank after Friday's static fire? I say yay. I don't know if that's a ranking, but I give Ship 26 a yay after Friday's static fire. Yes, I'm biased because I shot a slow-mo video of it, and I'm happy with that video. But for real, it was a good test. Knowing now, thanks to that SpaceX tweet, that they were testing a simulated deorbit burn, that's fascinating to me. And that's a meaningful test, right? Every test is a meaningful test, but it's particularly meaningful. It's not just like, hey, let's make sure this Raptor engine is still working right after having sat out for several months. It's like, that is really good data to be gathering. So I say yay, Ship 26. Trevor, what do you say?
I say yay, Ship 26, and I also think it's pretty cool that SpaceX has been doing seemingly quite a few of these tests for future iterations of Ship, such as the here's Jack's amazing footage. That shock diamond is just awesome.
It makes me so happy.
Right in McGregor, we saw they also did the tests simulating descent of HLS from lunar orbit. And then there was also that weird test where they did it off angle. So it was at like Raptor's maximum gimbal angle. And they fired for 30 seconds or whatever. So I just think it's really cool that we're seeing some of these tests that will prepare them to very quickly get into HLS and proper flights once they reach orbit.
Right? Yeah, it's the exact kind of testing that we want to see in order to enable the future that we all want. Alex, how do you rank Ship 26 after Friday's static fire?
6 out of 10.
Oh, come on. Wow. Just a 6?
I don't know.
I guess it is still kind of an abomination.
And it was only one engine. Come on, it has 6. It could do better.
You want a 6-engine deorbit burn? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, why not? Go big or go home. Actually, go
Right.
big and go home, I guess, because you're coming back.
Hey, nice. Let's see. Let's do some more questions. Here's one that's not Starship specific necessarily, but hopefully will be applied to Starship here soon with SpaceX's learnings as they start to launch more. Zachary J is asking, does SpaceX rotate engines on the Falcon 9 like tires on a car? Because some engines are ignited more than others? And this answer, again, you could conceivably see them doing a similar thing with Raptors on a booster that they would do with the Merlins on a Falcon 9. Alex, do they rotate engines?
I'm not sure we have any sort of indication as to that, or like any sort of data from SpaceX. They really don't like to talk a lot about this stuff. I mean, they talk about it, but like in broad terms, not really. Oh, we've changed these X, or X engine to X booster or whatever. Like, they don't really talk
Right.
about that in that way. They're like, yeah, well, we sometimes change some components or whatever, and so that's the only thing that we know, and so that's the only thing that we talk about. Because that's the only thing that we can really talk about, frankly.
Good deal. I mean, it's better that we say we don't know when we don't know than just like making some stuff up. And that's hopefully what everyone here expects from us, is if we don't know, we're going to say it. If we're speculating, we're going to say it. And if we know, that's a little bit more hazy. Plutonium-239, thank you for the support. They say, I know I don't have a crystal. I know it's don't have, I guess, whatever. We don't have a crystal ball, but do we think they're going to launch in January 2024? I think they're going to get a launch before then, and I think the next one is probably like February-ish. Alex, what do you think? Also, did anyone see that butterfly? That was awesome.
Yeah. Well, if I had a crystal ball of plutonium-239, maybe I could I could know when this thing is gonna launch, but I don't know, man. I had been saying for a while that it was gonna be October, November, and I had this whole bet of like, oh, it's not gonna launch before the end of of the summer. It was looking like it was gonna launch before the end of the summer, and here we are, end of October, and no launch yet. All the regulations and whatnot, whatever you think about that, whatever. But still, we're probably weeks away, I will say. But how many weeks? Who knows? My take is that in a very optimistic scenario, it's going to be November at the earliest. I wouldn't be able to put like a really hard date on that. And I think you're muted if you're talking, by the way.
I don't. How did you know the question I asked you if I was muted? Because I was muted, for the record. You just
You
knew.
were.
You just knew what my follow-up was
Exactly.
going to be, and you answered it
Exactly.
even though I was muted.
Uh-huh.
That's astounding,
I
Alex.
know you. I
You
know
never
you
cease.
already.
You never cease to amaze me. Wow. Cool. Moving along. IX Toxicity, thank you for the support. They say, well, that's the question we just asked, is when is Starship going to launch? Well, thank you for the support, IX Toxicity. SpaceFax, thanks for being a Red Team member for 2 months. They're thanking us for our coverage. You're the best. For the kind words. Marco, thank you for the support, upgrading to Red Team. Krillix, again, underwater dubstep. I think it's funny. Please clap. Anyone know if SpaceX has tested alternatives to heat shield tiles, such as a liquid application in layers like paint? The tiles seem so fragile. Well, we were talking about this a little bit earlier with the side-mounted, crewed craft thing earlier and shuttle and all that. The fact that it's above the booster means you don't really have to worry about it hitting anything, I guess, other than like a bird or something. So the tiles are protected in that way. I don't know that we've seen SpaceX test any other tile alternatives. I'm not saying they haven't. There was talk, right, from Elon about a transpirational cooling system around the time that Starship switched from carbon fiber to stainless steel. Who knows if that's still in the cards someday, or is just sort of on the shelf, or what?
I doubt it.
Yeah, Trevor, go ahead. Add some color, my guy.
No, I think the transpirational cooling thing that Elon mentioned was basically they would have another layer on the side where the heat shield is now, and that would have small holes all over it, and then they would flow liquid methane through that, and then that would take away the heat, and the Starship would kind of re-enter through a bunch of its own flames, and it would be super cool. However, I think it was way too technically complex, and I certainly don't see them ever going for it, sadly.
Okay, well muted.
Yeah, thank you. I was muted. I'm being told on our back channel by Sawyer that shuttle wasn't just bird strike. It also took out a space bat and a space frog, which, thank you. Never forget space bat and never forget space frog. Let's see. Bright Mighty, thanks for the support. We appreciate the kind words. ZTGB, 3-month Red Team member. They say 3 months went by fast, man. Right? Time flies when you're having fun with tanks. Joaquin, thank you for the support. They say in 4 to 5 years when they are launching like every day, will you still be doing coverage for each launch? Love the coverage, keep it up. I don't think they'll hit every day in 4 to 5 years, but certainly we will maintain. Chris is posting shuttle video in the back channel now. Chris, I don't know, I've never been diagnosed with ADD. I probably have ADD. Why are you doing this to me? All I want to do now is watch the shuttle video. Yeah, I don't think they'll be launching every day in 4 to 5 years, but it is a question worth asking, is when launches are as common as airliners taking off and landing, how do we stream them? It's a question worth asking and thinking about. I don't know that I have any answers for you right now, but good question. Always interesting to think about the future. Chris Guac is asking, do you think we will see engine chill today on the ship and the booster? Alex, do you think we'll see an engine chill happen?
Well, I have good news and bad news. What do you want me to say first?
Bad news. Always bad news.
Yeah,
Okay.
bad news. Always the
The
bad
bad-
news first. Because then the good news is like the mint on your pillow. It's like the shot and the chaser.
Yeah, I know. The bad news is on the ship. No, sadly. On the booster, we actually saw it before. We just didn't really mention about it because it's like, it's already. I don't know. It used to be a big deal back in the day. But nowadays it's like, oh yeah, okay, well, they get the engine chilled, and they basically take the part of the liquid oxygen and just basically dump it on a pit that they have like several hundred meters away,
Right.
like behind the tower. And I can see that that pit was they had some condensation there, so they were obviously doing that engine chill on the booster, but that was all. Here on the ship, though, it appears that they only loaded a little bit of stuff like methane and oxygen. It didn't seem like they loaded anything like enough to arrive to the point of like getting frost on it. And so far, that's basically how we are right now with the ship. The booster does look like it is detanking. Right now, I'm seeing some activity that kind of looks like they are detanking already, the booster. So yeah, this looks
Interesting.
to be all other testing today.
Huh. Well, I mean, they could do more testing. They could
Mhm.
detank the booster and then load more on. Interesting. I mean, the entire road is closed. They have until 8 p.m. local. It's 12:35 local. Once again, the road is closed, and they do have the pad clear, all of that good stuff. They are doing testing. They have the nice long closure. So, anyone's guess if we'll see a progression from this today, or if this is it, or if or what. But we did see. Patrick, can we see the static fire footage again? This is the static fire of Ship 26 the other day. We got some slow-mo video of it, but that's not all we got from this event. Oh my God! Look at the shock diamond.
You piqued my interest now.
We were all
Yeah,
quite
we
shocked
also-
when we saw that.
Nice. We also got a metal print out of it. That's right. We have 2 new metal prints in the store, both Ship 26 related. For those of you that are Ship 26 fans, I mean, how could you not be? This one, with the delicious mock diamond in there, do not lick the mock diamond, as a beautiful metal print, super easy to hang, doesn't need a frame, just comes in a box, you put it on your wall. And honestly, they look astounding. And we also have this excellent print from Sean of Ship 26 at sunset. Look at that thing. It looks surreal. It doesn't even look real. Beautiful.
Even if you're a hater, you just should get it. Like in the movies when they're like, "I'm gonna get you," and they're like pointing at a frame or something with a picture of the enemy or something. This is the same. Even if you don't like it, come on, look at those colors. It's really amazing.
It almost Starship looked like an evil supervillain. And we also have calendars.
Yeah,
You might have
right?
seen those flying by on the merch notices earlier. We just launched our 2024 calendars. We have 2 versions. We have a general spaceflight version and we have a Starbase version. The Starbase version, of course, has Sean's excellent Cybertruck photo on the cover and the some photos from around Starbase, full stacks, goodness, all kinds of cool stuff. Some historical imagery. Look at that. That's just beautiful. And yeah, we also, Patrick, can we look at the general spaceflight one? Oh, yep, there we go. Yes. I mean, what's not to like? Falcon Heavy, Crew Dragon, all the good stuff. Atlas, gotta love it. So yeah, whatever you want. If you want to support our channel, we appreciate the super chats and the memberships and all that so much. But the excellent support we get from when you buy some merch is really appreciated as well. And as a bonus, you get something obviously physical in return. You get merch. Wow, this is like newsflash from Jack. When you buy merch, you get merch. Anyways, that's the merch. If you want to buy some, we appreciate it. If you don't, that's fine too. Thanks for even considering it. All right. Back to some questions. Patrick says hi, chat. Hi, Patrick. Pink Bunny is asking, while we're on the subject of Ship 26, now we know more about Ship 26 testing. What else could they test? Anybody want to spitball what they might additionally want to test with Ship 26? I think nothing at this point, anyways, just based on the fact that it's hooked up to the crane and there is a set of SPMTs and a transport stand waiting nearby. I feel like the next thing for Ship 26 is to roll back to the production site, but who knows if they have more testing in mind after some modifications or what, or I could be completely wrong. Trevor? Alex?
I agree. It's probably completed all of its testing.
Yeah, you can
Alex?
see there in that shot, for example, right next to the cranes. You can see that crane, the bottom to the right. I believe that is the transport stand for Ship 26. So the current theory is that they're gonna remove it and roll it back to the production site, or maybe Rocket Garden. So
Just roll it right
Yeah.
right into the ocean, SPMTs and all. Just straight into the Gulf. Call it a day. No, I'm sorry. I love you, Ship 26. I'm sorry. I'm being mean. Good question, though, from Pink Bunny. All right, let's go back to the full stack, because full stack better.
ooh, and
Yay. Musical Wolves is asking what our favorite Raptor Engines meme was back when they were putting memes on Raptor Engines. Thanks for the support there, Musical Wolves. Now and always. I think there was like a Doge one. Wasn't there a Doge one? That was pretty good. There was also I think a Velociraptor. There's some really good ones. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, so
The
it's hard to say.
Velociraptor was just the name of Raptor. That Elon one day was like, "Oh, Raptor is actually short for Velociraptor." And Michael,
Well, I'm pretty sure there was a
why are you calling me?
Raptor with a. Oh my god! Don't even get me started. I'm pretty sure there was a
Okay.
Raptor with a Velociraptor taped to it. I could be just mixing things up in my head. Wesley the Third in chat says the Monopoly one was cool. There was the Lego. Yeah, there was the Lego one. That one was awesome.
Yeah, I don't really
good
remember
question.
them. That was a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say I do like R2B2, the
Yeah.
Raptor boost, the Raptor 2 boost that had the serial number 2 that they put R2D2 on with like a stencil. That was awesome, right on the nozzle. I think R2B2 is probably my favorite, now that I think about it. John H., thank you for being a Capcom member for 24 months. That's 2 years. They say, check out the giant robot peeking out from behind the SHB on the right. SHB? I feel brain dead. What's the SHB? Ship High Bay? I don't know.
Super heavy booster.
Oh, that makes sense.
Check out the right.
Well, this
giant
was like
robot.
this was like 20 minutes ago, so whatever angle we were looking at, it's no longer there. At me in chat and tell me what you were talking about. I'm sorry. That's what it was. Not Tom B in chat saying Velociraptor. That's what it was on the Raptor engine. Velociraptor, like the meme, the actual meme. Thank you for that. John Titter in chat with some support saying, I can't wait until you guys see Raptor 5 in action. It's the best Raptor. Oh, stop. Doesn't even exist yet. Paul Sorensen, thank you for the support. They say, what are the aspects of good ventness? I would say volume, density, probably flow rate, and probably like some points for style. Does anyone else have any aspects of what makes a good vent that they want to add to the checklist here?
If its launch is near. If it's like an abort vent,
proximity
we don't
to
like
launch.
That. Yeah.
Proximity to launch, but it's like Price is Right rules. So it's like if it goes over, then it's not good. Alex?
Yeah, we'll agree with you.
Good deal. All right, so we're looking at the frost receding now, which again we were talking earlier about how it appears they are now detanking. So hopefully that was a good test, and SpaceX got some good data from it. We're going to keep watching because they could continue to test a variety of things. We could see the FireX spool up. We could see igniter tests. We could see the deluge system, though I don't think we will. There's all sorts of things that they could and probably would want to test with such a closure. I mean, they have the road closed. It's closed till 8 p.m. That said, they could totally open up the road in like 30 minutes or an hour. Well, not that soon because there's still propellant in the tanks. But point being, we're still watching and waiting to see what happens next. The roadblock is still up, as you can see in the pip there. Thank you, Patrick, for that. Astrograg, celebrating 12 months of membership as a Capcom. Thank you. Axie, thank you for the support. Eamon 3D Prince, thank you for 3 months as a Red Team member. They can't wait for flight test number 2. Bring it on from the UK. Mark Mapplebeck. What a name. That's like I think it's an 80s like hair metal band name. We are Mark Mapplebeck. Anyways, is the hot stage ring attached to the booster in some manner for reuse? Do you see the hot stage ring being permanently integrated into future boosters? This is a great question. So this is me completely speculating. So put on your speculation hats, Rocket fans. My gut is that at stage SEP, not only will the ship be released and fire its engines, I expect the hot stage ring to be released as well. So it'll be like those iconic Saturn V launch videos where you see like the third stage or the second stage start up and you see the interstage ring like fly off and head back to Earth to burn up. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Maybe it's just based on those videos. And I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if something similar but slightly different happened, where they release the hot stage ring and the ship from the booster, and then release the hot stage ring from the ship. Something like that. Either way, I don't personally, this is me speculating, expect the hot stage ring to stay attached to the booster, although it could for this first attempt. Let's pause there for a moment. Do either of you agree with me? Trevor, go first.
Are you saying that just on the first launch the hot staging ring will be let go, or on all launches?
I'm just saying I expect it to be let go while it's in this configuration for however many launches they do this. But, maybe the booster will hang on to it. I'm again completely speculating. I want it to be let go because I think the footage of that would be awesome. But maybe the booster will just hang on to it.
I would be surprised if they let it go. That's very un-SpaceX-like, but we'll have to see. But long term, I think
that would sort of
integrated.
Right. I would sort of, yeah, it would be un-SpaceX-like, right? Because, that wouldn't be fully and rapidly reusable. It would be rapidly reusable, but technically, a small percentage of it would not be fully. So, maybe I'll rethink my stance here. Chat really thinks it'll stay attached. Alex, what do you think?
I was thinking, well, even if they detach it, you could put a few parachutes in that thing and just splash it down or something. I don't know.
That would be hilarious.
It will be like ULA's smart reuse, but weird. Like, I don't know, weird reuse.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't smart reuse already weird?
Weirder. The weirder reuse. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Smarter
SpaceX has
reuse.
not had great luck recovering first stages under parachute, though. So,
true.
Even though
fairings?
Yeah.
I mean, just saying.
But this doesn't have the surface to mass ratio that a fairing has.
Right, and that's kind of important.
So
to answer the latter part of this question and agree with Trevor here, I do expect the hot stage ring to be permanently integrated into future boosters as they are built. So, yeah. That's sort of, I would agree with that, Trevor. I think you're right there. Alex, what do you think? Do you think they'll permanently integrate it? I think also, sorry, I'm cutting you off. I think also the question to ask is, do they permanently stick with hot staging? I mean, it could go very wrong on this flight and they could abandon it and go back to the old SEP style or a completely other SEP style. Or they could stick with it and keep iterating and make it work if it goes wrong. Or maybe it goes completely right. But given, let's just say, yes, hot staging for Starship is here to stay. Alex, do you think it gets integrated into the booster permanently?
It might. The only problem is you will need to make some sort of hatch between the hot staging ring and the top dome. Because if you want to access the top dome, you need to remove the hot staging ring right now. And if you fully integrate it, then you need to have a way to actually access that, that space between the shield on the hot staging ring and the top dome of the booster, because that's where you have a lot of the systems for the grid fins and things like that. You have a bunch of other stuff as well. Things like the pressurization systems for the methane tank, etc., etc. So you obviously want a way to access that part of the vehicle. So if if they were to put it permanently on the boosters, I would expect some kind of hatch, for example, being integrated or something like it. I don't really know. As for whether they will keep it attached or not, I think they're gonna keep it attached, but we'll see.
Makes sense. Who was it in chat? Somebody in chat. Dave Watkins is asking, what's that cable hanging? that cable on the bottom that's going from the ship to the QD arm? Is that just like an Ethernet cable plugged into the ship so they have data? Like, what is that? I wish we knew. No, down a little bit. Down a little bit. Below the QD. I mean, those are cables also, but I meant specifically that one. That one right there. Go back up. We're pointing camera by voice live. This is great. This is great streaming here. Ooh, someone got a calendar. Right there, stop. Yes. That floppy cable. That looks a little ad hoc to me. Anyways, that was a really good question from Mark. Keep your questions coming, y'all, because these are really good ones, and we're waiting to see what happens next here with Ship 25 and Booster 9. Hopefully we get some more testing. But right now, the vehicle is detanking. Road's still closed. Closure's till 8 p.m. So what is that? 7 hours, 10 minutes left in the window for more testing. Joy. Mark Mapplebeck in chat sending me some bacon. Thank you, Mark. Keep asking good questions. Like, for real. These streams are the best when we get good questions and we can sort of think about the future of these vehicles and how they will look going forward versus how they look now. And I just have to reiterate again, oh my gosh, Booster 9 is just so beautiful. Look at that. Look at the stringers. Look at the cowbell vents. Look at the chimes. Look at the engine chill vents. What a machine. Ziggies or Ziggles in chat says, dang, you found my cable. Bro, you left it. You left your cable plugged in on the QD arm. Like, how are you going to charge your phone?
Jingamajing.
Dynamite Harry, thanks for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. JK Video, thank you for the support. They're saying, has anyone ever been able to see if the deluge cover plate is in place? I have not been able to see that. I was there this morning. I did not take note if it was on or off. We'll see if we can get a view of it with any of our cameras, but it's really tricky, the way the angles and everything work out. Good question, though. Thanks for the super chat. Tommy Copy, thanks for becoming a Capcom member. Josh Wilson, thanks for the tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com. They say stay frosty, but it's actually not right now staying frosty. It's getting less frosty. There, I'm not sure if we can see what the status is there, but good on you, camera operator, whoever that was. Was that Patrick? Taylor Van Camp in chat asking me, what's my next Land Rover replacement? I don't think I'll ever get rid of the Land Rover, but I'm trying to keep it going nice and strong with a minimum amount of investment, let's put it that way, until it's Cybertruck time for me, because I want a Cybertruck really bad. You all know this. It's not news to anybody. I deeply desire to drive down a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, devoid of any humans within 50 miles, with no engine sound, just the sound of my wheels on dirt, and not just chugging gas and being horrible to the environment. But yeah, Cybertruck, that's the next vehicle for me, if I can afford it, which is a big if. And also, if they, start producing them in volume so that I can actually buy one. Because I did get a reservation like on day one, but I don't think my reservation is necessarily front of line. Although, if anyone out there knows anyone, I know a guy who will use the heck out of a Cybertruck. His name's Jack. Let's do some more questions. Yeah, right. Not sponsored by Tesla. Michael T is asking, how will they integrate Starlinks into Starship once the vehicle is completed. Alex, I'm going to give this one to you, bud. It's my gift to you.
Well, they have these kind of loading box that they use, and so they basically the box can be opened from above. They load the satellites as a stack inside of that box, and then the box can be lifted next to the ship. Basically, it has like little connections for chains, basically, to be able to chain that box. And the box has an opening on the side, sort of like a mailbox opening kind of thing, just like the vehicle, just like the ship. It has these sort of mailbox shaped kind of door for the starships. And so the procedure, I don't really know because I'm not an engineer or anything like it. But they basically just throw one, like they pass along one satellite from the box to the dispenser inside of the. Yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
jump in here? Think of a Pez dispenser. They call it that for a reason.
Exactly.
Like one comes out. It's a Pez dispenser next to a Pez receiver. The dispenser is the box, and in the case of loading, the receiver is the ship, and of course, obviously, in flight, the dispenser is the ship. But yeah, and now, wow, I'm having like a flashback from my youth because you said mailbox. I'm thinking of C-Lab 2021. Does anyone watch that? Anyone still watch that? Mailbox Head? No? Anyone?
I've never
Bueller?
heard of it.
Well, it's
Of course
also
you
true
haven't,
that
Trevor.
mailbox have different shapes and everything, but I'm thinking the ones that are like a slit kind of thing, you know?
I think Adrian and I need to have a competition of who gets fewer culture references.
I mean, C-Lab 2021 is pretty obscure. I don't begrudge you for not knowing that one, although I do wonder if you'd like it. Anyways, this has been TV Chat. Let's get back to Starship. So we're looking at the frost continue to recede as they detank the vehicle. We did not see any frost on the ship, right?
I
No.
didn't see anything.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It is true, though, that they can still load. We were talking about this on previous tests as well, where they might load some propellant, but they're only loading the bottom of the tank, and the bottom of the tank is not touching the exterior of the vehicle, whereas the walls of the tank are basically they are basically the exterior of the vehicle is like 4 millimeters away from the inner face of the tank, right? So because it's the structure, basically the structure is the tank, but the bottom, which is the bulkhead, that is not touching. So you can fill the whole bulkhead and not have any, like the level of the liquid oxygen or the liquid methane doesn't reach high enough to touch the walls. If it doesn't reach high enough to touch the walls, you don't see any frost. And let me remind you, the bottom bulkhead on the ship can store about, I think it was like 30 or 35 tons of liquid oxygen on the ship. And on the methane side, the transfer tube, or downcomer, for those that prefer downcomer, I don't like it, but it's there. So the transfer tube for the methane, I think it holds about 3 tons more or less, and then the bulkhead, it's another 10, maybe 15 or so. So you have probably about 18 tons maybe of methane until you start seeing frost, and about 30 to 40 tons of oxygen until you start seeing frost. That's for the ship. For the booster is a bit different numbers, but overall you can still load up a decent amount of both fluids and still not see frost. So they might have done that because we saw that activity from the tower vent.
Makes sense. Tracy, gifting a Red Team membership. Is that the best, Tracy? I think it is. Steve on the road. Thanks for the support. It's 6 months at Red Team. They say great to see full stack testing. Hopefully a launch soon. Indeed. AS Russell 96, 1 month as a Red Team member. Loving the commentary. Thank you. Daniel Beecroft. Thank you for becoming a new member. You Beecroft a new member? I don't know. I'm sorry, Sawyer. Thank you for that. Hope you enjoy your member perks. Jens Hasselhun, becoming a flight engineer. Thank you so much, Jens. That's like the highest level of support you can do. and that's absolutely amazing, and we appreciate it so much. You get all of the amazing perks. You get the Discord access. You get all the photos. You get all the videos. You get all the members-only streams we do. We try to do more of them. It's hard, but we're trying. All the perks. Members-only emoji. We just thank you. Thank you so much. That's so generous of you. Chris Ray, thanks for the support. They say, thanks as always for the amazing coverage. Random hypothetical question. Do you think that starships could be converted into tank farms on Mars in the early days of colonization or return trips? Like send 2 or 3 starships down without crew and just have them be there as like tankage. You could even use them as shelters.
I mean, they already use the tank farm is already pretty much starships. At least the liquid oxygen tank and so the liquid oxygen tanks and the liquid nitrogen tanks. You see the shells out there. Those are still, frankly, they are pretty much like starships. They are just wider. They are 12 meter wide, and they are also stainless steel. They were made up of rings that they stack together, and so the construction is pretty much the same. It's just it is wider. But inside of those shells, at least for all but one of those tanks, the one with a pipe, right, like the second one from the left.
The one with the biggest den.
Exactly, right there. The one without
Power
the
vents
stitching,
back. Sorry,
I
go ahead.
guess.
Yeah.
That is normal. And so, except for that one, there's an interior tank, but there's basically another tank inside that is the actual tank where these commodities are stored. And those tanks are literally made of the same steel rings and sections that they have made all of these vehicles, basically. Even the forward domes and bottom domes and all of that to be able to contain, obviously, because you need a top and a bottom for the tank, right? So all of that is pretty much made of the same stuff that they make all of these starships.
Right. Jen's not only becoming a flight engineer, but also gifting 5 Red Team membership. Thank you so much. I hope I'm not butchering your name. And if you got a membership from them or anybody else, be sure to thank the person that gifted you the membership. It's really so important to what we do to have the member program, to have that dependable monthly amount of support from y'all is so huge. It lets us bridge the slow times. It lets us plan in the good times and the bad times. It lets us do so much that we would not be able to do otherwise. So just thank you so much. I mean, the vagaries of the YouTube algorithm, you never know when a video is going to do well or not. And it's just, without the members, I say it all the time, and I mean it, we could not do what we do without all of our members. So thank you. Thank you so much. Matthew, becoming a Red Team member. Joel, thank you for the support. 3 $1 super chats. I'll take it. Every little bit counts. Like, for real. I'm not even being sarcastic. Every little bit counts. If every one of our subscribers donated $1 to NSF, oh my God, the things we could do, people. I don't even want to think about it. I mean, I do, but it's oh gosh. Anyways, every little bit helps. Dean Harbold
instead of a dollar will already be.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's like the take a penny, leave a penny jar. You leave a penny, we'll give you some spaceflight stuff. Dean Harbold, thanks for 23 months as a Capcom member. They say full stack 26. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Lotto Quick Play, becoming a Padret member. Joel with another $1 super chat. Thank you, Joel. Richard says, it's been a while. What are your guys' favorite non-shuttle vehicles? Delta IV Heavy for me. And he bought the Starbase Retro shirt. Thank you for that, Richard. It's a cool shirt, huh? I love that design. Favorite non-shuttle vehicles? Well, of course, I love Virgin Galactic and their Spaceship 2, and like it's beautiful. If we're talking like vehicles in general, I mean the F-22 is amazing, the SR-71 is amazing, the XB-70 is probably my very favorite. HL-20, HL-10. I'm surely leaving things out here. Stratolaunches rock. I mean, come on, what's not to like? Also, Talon is awesome. Also, the X-37B is awesome. All right, I think I've rattled off enough of them.
For me, how could it not be Falcon 9?
I mean, really, like it's Falcon 9 launches so much that it's so commonplace that it almost gets short shrift because of it. But it's really utterly phenomenal what SpaceX has been able to do with Falcon 9 in terms of launch cadence, in terms of reusability over and over and over again, in terms of continually iterating and increasing its payload capacity and just upgrading it over time. And of course, launching crew, it's phenomenal. So that's a good pick, Trevor. I think that's a rare, good Trevor take.
Yeah, it's really cool, like you were saying, that it went from an expendable medium lift launcher to a reusable, almost heavy lift launcher. And then, of course, like you were saying, off of that, building Dragon, building Falcon Heavy, it's just such a fantastic vehicle that will definitely always have a special place in my heart.
Good deal. Alex, I know you're going to say Falcon 9, but like, what else?
Falcon Heavy.
I mean, hey, not wrong. Also, an absolutely
right?
phenomenal vehicle.
It's so amazing.
Good question.
I mean,
I really love questions like this, Richard. So thank
Yeah.
you. I find it slightly silly that none of us said Starship, even though I'm sure that's also on our lists. But I mean, obviously, we're NASA Spaceflight. We're sitting here watching this booster defrost. Of course, we love Starship.
you know,
In my-
Jack.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say the reason why I like a lot the Falcon Heavy is that booster separation. You
It is
know,
awesome.
like the shuttle when they had the SRB
Yes.
separation and you had all of these whoosh kind of thing, but you don't see that
Yeah, we
on
saw
Falcon Heavy. It's so clean.
We saw it with SLS. It was beautiful with SLS
Yeah.
as well. It's like a really, really beautiful. You know what? I'm going to add SLS to my list. I'm also going to add the A10
cool.
and the X15.
Okay. So all
Oh,
rockets.
DCX. DCX is awesome. X33. Not all rockets. I didn't say Ares 1X. Although, I do like Ares 1X. I wouldn't call it one of my favorites, though. What's the name of
Nergia is up
the...
there.
For sure. What's the name of the... What?
That's a huge vent. That's the booster
Where?
vent. The booster is venting all completely.
There we go. It's like a depress on the booster.
Yep.
Watch, it'll do a pre-burner now that I said that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We don't expect any engine testing today. What was the name of the Indian rocket that just did the in-flight abort test?
Oh,
Well, it's just a booster of another rocket. It's the
Okay. Well,
it's a liquid fuel booster of the GSLV Mark II rocket.
okay.
They took one of
Well,
those
whatever.
boosters and put it there.
TVD1 is what Chad is saying. The TVD1,
Yeah.
it was amazing. It was so beautiful. It was beautiful. I loved watching that launch. Holy cow. There was one shot specifically where it looked like it was just on strings being lifted out of the frame. It was just hilarious. What a cool, goofy looking rocket. I like Kerbal rockets.
yeah, I think India's space program is kind of underrated in general. It's remarkable how much they've been able to do for a relatively low budget. Like, I believe the total cost of the crew spacecraft that they've been developing that they tested the other day is under $1 billion US. So
Wow.
it's pretty remarkable.
I would agree. And, it just makes me happy. It makes me happy to see. I like seeing more countries with access to space. I like seeing more people with access to space. And just the nose down grind of iteration and proving out your systems and getting there. I mean, that's how you get there. That's how you get to space. So, really cool test to see. Tracy! Buying 2 things from the store. I'm going to guess it's 2 calendars. That's a guess. They say right next to my bacon art. You have bacon art? Is it like artwork of bacon, or is it bacon that's been made into art? I need to know. And yes, they got 2 calendars of the Starbase variety. Excellent. Toaster chip thank you for becoming a Capcom member and staying a Capcom member for 7 months. They say, thanks for all the great videos and commentary and photos, inspiring people to get excited about space. That's what we're here for. If you're not excited about the new space future that we live in, for lack of a better term, it sounds stupid now that I say it out loud. If you're not excited about this, like what is there to be excited about? I mean, I'm sure you could rattle off a list of things. I could probably do too, but this is like peak exciting to me. I don't know, Trevor. How exciting is this? It's exciting.
I think I was actually going to comment on this toward the start of the stream. I think it's kind of easy to forget, and we've all been numbed by the fact that this is the most powerful rocket the world has ever had, and it is fully stacked on its launch pad ahead of a second flight. That is kind of crazy, and yeah, I cannot wait to see this program get active, and it really is just super inspiring.
You're right, because we cover this stuff day in and day out, and we sort of are awash with the minutia of everything going on in Starbase and that SpaceX is doing, and in the space industry in general. And so you can sort of become numb to it a little bit over time. And every now and then you get like a gut check. Like for me, it frequently happens as I'm driving out to Starbase in the morning, and it's like sunrise, and the light is just right, and I'll just see this massive behemoth of a full stack off in the distance, and I just think to myself, sometimes I even say it out loud, I'm just like, holy cow, that thing is going to space. It's the biggest rocket ever made by several, like, it's insane. It's so cool. And it's something bearing in mind as we watch all this stuff.
Yeah, the first rocket I ever saw was B-1019 outside of SpaceX's headquarters in Hawthorne. And even Falcon 9 was way bigger than I thought it was. And the entire Falcon 9 is the same height as the first stage of Starship. And obviously the first stage is even less than that. So I think it's easy to lose scale, and I really want to go down to Boca Chica to really be able to understand.
I always tell people, if you have the opportunity, do it now, because it's just such a rapidly evolving place and situation to where you never know what it's going to be like in 6 months or a year or 2 years. So if you have the ability to go down and see one of these early launches, there's really no better time to do it. This is the golden age of this place. Like, the Star Factory is getting built. A lot of the stuff that we previously had visibility on is going to go inside that building, and who knows how much of it we'll be able to see going forward. We'll obviously still be out here with our cameras and still be out here trying to catch every little bit and piece we can, but this is a very special time and place in history. So I definitely encourage you, Trevor, if you can, get down there and see it, especially if there's a full stack and especially if there's a launch. But
when there's a full stack that's not during the school year, I will go down, but I just can't miss school right now, sadly.
I will give you a tour myself.
That makes it even more interesting.
And if you catch me on the right day, it might even be a good tour.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you for grabbing something from the store. Looks like they got a metal print. They say this is their second one. Love the stream. Thanks, guys, gals, for everything you do. Absolutely. That's an excellent shot from Sean there. Yeah, that's a good one. And I know Sean appreciates that too as well. Every metal print you buy, some of the proceeds go to the photographer that shot the image. And like I said, we all appreciate it. And I know Sean definitely appreciates it, especially as well. It's nice. It's nice to see that people like your work enough to want it on their wall. It's a very interesting feeling, and it's very appreciated.
I'm seeing someone say, you need a permission slip for a field trip.
Yeah, you're gonna. Well, I'm not even gonna. Never mind. I think Trevor knew what I was going to say, but I'm not going to say it. Dylan
I know exactly.
Oh man, Dylan Bender, thank you for the support. They say, how does the access panel to the inside of the ship or booster get removed and reattached? It's like bolted or riveted on, right? Not riveted, I guess. It would be bolted. The little access panels to the tanks.
Yeah, it's
That's all
basically
you're.
like a hatch.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's like there's a mechanism then, or is it like are there fasteners? Like, is it a little door and you turn a knob, or are there? I was under the impression there was fasteners. Yes. No. Okay. Moving on.
yeah, I'm actually not sure. Sorry.
No, you're
I'm not
good.
sure either.
Whenever
It's
whenever
I mean,
whenever Alex is that quiet, I know I've strayed into dangerous territory.
I'm
I
not
would
a cholager.
I would imagine though that it's kind of mounted from the inside, so that as
Yeah.
the vehicle
Yes.
gets pressurized, right, it just pushes harder against it, so then it
Right.
is more leak resistant.
That I have seen and know about, but the actual mechanism, I just assume that it's either bolted or whatever. Like I don't really know, to be honest, because I haven't seen it, so
Good deal.
couldn't say.
All right, I think at this point in today's testing, we are going to swap out commentators. We're going to do a commentator hot swap. Alex, can I get a go for hot swap?
You are go for hot swap? What's the word?
Excellent,
Yeah.
thank you. And we
Ah,
are going to swap out Trevor. Trevor, thanks for being on commentary at the start of the
Yes,
stream today.
yeah, of course. My replacement will be slightly punnier than I am.
Wow. And we are swapping Trevor out. Thank you again, Trevor, for Sawyer. Sawyer, how you doing this morning? You there?
Did someone say puns?
We did many
Yeah.
times, actually.
I'm doing great, and it's no longer morning, at least here, Eastern time zone where I am. But hey, there's Starship testing that's been going on. Always a good day when that happens.
Yeah, it turns out it's afternoon. It's 1:15 here in Starbase, and I guess that's just how my brain works when I wake up early. It's just perpetually morning until I sleep again. But welcome to the stream, Sawyer.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you for joining us. And thank you, Trevor, again, for being on at the beginning of the show. So, Sawyer, you've been watching? Do we need to bring you up to speed? Or, I mean, I know you've been watching. You've been chatting in the chat, but
Yes.
would you like a recap?
Sure, why not? Let's go for a recap, even though you know I can get up to speed, sir.
All right. Well, oh my gosh, Sawyer. So basically, the road closed right at 8 a.m. I'm trying real hard to stay composed here. I'm trying really hard. It's not easy. The road closed at 8 a.m. We were out there setting up cameras at like 7:30 or so, and the sheriffs were already sort of rolling up and down the road right next to the launch site, kind of tooting their sirens, like, "All right, start moving." So SpaceX was chomping at the bit this morning. That's a horse reference for Chris B. To get ready testing, and sure enough, they wasted no time getting right into it. So basically, based on what we've seen, we think, and I'm using specific wording here because we don't want to be too definitive in case we are wrong, but based on reading the tea leaves, it appeared as though we saw a partial wet dress rehearsal, given activity on the methane side of the tank farm and a frost line on the methane tank and the LOX tank. So I guess that would differ from a tanking test, because therein they would swap the methane out for liquid nitrogen, so it was inert and not dangerous. But what we didn't see, of course, because we didn't see the tanks get fully frosty, and we didn't see the ship tanks get frosty at all, was a full wet dress rehearsal. Now, there are many hours left in today's closure window. Who knows what we could see, but I think it's a safe bet to wager that we are not going to see a full wet dress rehearsal today, just based on the fact that Boca Chica Village, to our knowledge, has not been evacuated, which they need to do, or at least have done in the past, for previous full wet dress rehearsals. So
I think you guys made a good point
up
earlier, by the way, about the fact that it has been quite a while since the ground support equipment, the GSE Stage 0, has gotten through full testing here. So even though it's not necessarily a full wet dress rehearsal, but to actually get the methane and the liquid oxygen running through all the pipes again and starting to test load the booster, I think that is one of the big accomplishments, at least of today's testing so far.
Yeah, I will agree. Token, we're muted.
I was gonna say, my words just silenced Jack with with amazement.
Thank you, Alex. I don't know why I've been so bad about talking while muted on today's stream. I'm usually pretty good about it, but thank you, Alex, for letting me know. So yeah, they loaded some LOX and methane onto the booster, nothing onto the ship, and now we are watching them detank in hopes that they will conduct some sort of further testing. So there's your recap, Sawyer.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm sure people that just joined in chat do as well.
Excellent. Hey Sawyer, do you have the panel open?
I have a cat in my lap, but I can try and get the panel open.
Are you just trying to make me jealous? I have a cute little doggy next to me. Yes, I do. In your face.
Well, actually, no, he's in my lap, not in my face, but...
Oh, you got me. Yeah, bring up the panel, and if you see any questions that pique your interest, go for it. I'm going to run through some support here, because we're getting way behind, because y'all are being awesome and
Sounds
supporting
like
the
a
heck
plan.
out of us today, which we really appreciate. No, it was English. It wasn't a plan, whatever language that is. That was... I'm just trying too hard now, because
I'm sorry,
you're here.
what?
I don't know. Endeavor, not the best shuttle, but one of our best members, 15-month Capcom member, just says hi.
Watch it.
Dina Duckworth, I'm pushing buttons here. Dina Duckworth with a 34-month Padrat milestone. They say, love the channel, keep it up. Thank you. Houston Lucas, thanks for the super chat. Every little bit counts. Jay Mersch, 1017. 15-month Red Team member. Another day, another stream, another reason to be excited about the future of space. I couldn't have said it better, Jay Mersch. Thank you for that. Jan Scrubble Trang, I hope I'm not butchering your name. Gifting 5 Red Team memberships, thank you so much. Joseph DiGiorgio, is that like Papa DiGiorgio? Is Joseph DiGiorgio dad Papa DiGiorgio? That's a reference no one's gonna get. You got it, Andrew? Andrew got it. It's from National Lampoon's Vacation. I forget which one.
Big Ben.
Anyways, Vegas Vacation, that's what it was. Sorry, I completely sidetracked myself. Joseph DiGiorgio says, woohoo, proud to have 26 months of support for all the pure enjoyment and education the NSF team provides. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you to say. Thanks to the whole team behind and in front of the camera. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. That means a lot. 26 months in honor of Ship 26. Philip Grove, celebrating 8 months of membership as a Padrat. Jay Mersch, again, with a super chat. Thank you again. Thanking us again. Well, thank you yet again. Mark G, thank you for that. Every little bit counts. Dina Duckworth, thank you so much. They say, reminds me of the good old days of Tank Watchers. I mean, what is this? If not, some good down-home, old-fashioned, artisanal, non-GMO, vegan tank watching.
All right, important question then, is it gluten-free?
Yes, it's definitely gluten-free.
Okay.
I don't think there's any gluten in LOX or methane.
Look at this.
Or
It's
steel.
a tank. You're watching it. So you're a tank watcher.
There you go.
It's a tank.
Classic.
You're watching.
Classic tank watching. Thank you, Dina. We appreciate the support. Black Hawk New Zealand, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Very kind of you. Thank you. Gwen Ever, 15 months as a Red Team member. Thank you so much. They say, could you please do a summary of all the testing on ship and booster today so far? Thanks for the great views from UK. We just did, so hopefully you heard it. Hopefully you're not too flooded. Ken Phipps, thanks for the support. They say the first rocket that awakened my wonder when I was a kid was the Saturn V, and so it has to remain my favorite. The real reawakening was this monster, and so I want to see it succeed, and it will. I think you're right. I think there's basically no chance that this fails. There may be some bumps along the way, but maybe those are the true friends that you actually make.
And along those lines, I think that's also a really great comparison that isn't made often. I mean, the Saturn V it's the same thing of, this is absolutely monstrous vehicle, the F1 engines are beasts, and it was the first time that we ever said, we need to design a moon rocket. What does a moon rocket actually look like? And you got the amazingness that became the Saturn V. This is kind of the same boat of, what is a Mars rocket going to look like? Well, I think we're getting our first look at that, and I think it's going to be that same design of, there will definitely be bumps along the way, but we're going into uncharted, brand new territory. Instead of F1s, we have the Raptors now. I think it's actually a really apt comparison there.
You know, Sawyer, you have triggered something in my brain. I have to ask you, where do you fall on the big engine, like monolithic engine versus many small engine spectrum here? Are like, do you prefer the 5 engines on a Saturn V with much bigger and much more thrust, or do you prefer the many engine configuration where if you lose a couple, it's not really necessarily the end of the world?
I mean, in terms of board capability, yeah, I think more engines is actually better. So in the case of 1 or 2 engines out, you still have 31 in this case, as opposed to, something like Shuttle or Saturn V, where you're left with 4 or 2. But in terms of thrust, I think whatever you can use to get the thrust that's necessary. Yes, with more engines, there are more things that can go wrong, but there's also more forgiveness if something does go wrong. So I'm going to have to go with team more engines for that redundancy factor. And I know Jack is just silenced by my brilliant response, not because he's muted.
Okay, that time I got distracted by chat because chat was saying more engines, more better, which is the correct thing to say at this given time. I'm glad we agree on that, Sawyer. Alex, where do you fall? Talking while muted. Talking while muted.
I think
Oh,
he's
he's
actually.
AFK.
I think he stepped away for just a moment. He'll be back. So
I'm good at hosting. I swear I am. I
how
know
about
how
I
to do it.
hang on, let me try my Alex impression. Yes.
Yes to which? Small engines or big engines?
I don't know. That's my Alex
Alex.
impression, which
Hi,
You're correct.
I'm back.
Hey, you're back. Where do you fall on the big engines? A few monolithic massive engines versus many smaller engines. Saturn V config versus super heavy config. I see Chad is like more engines and bigger engines. It's like, but you can only have one. What do you pick?
You know me. I will say it depends. And the reason why I say that is because when you get to a monster like this, look at this. Look at that rocket. It seems small. That thing is 120 meters tall. That is,
Right.
I don't know how many feet tall, but whatever. It's very big. It's very, very big. And the problem is, if you think about the F1 engine, it took a long time to develop that. A lot of blown up engines with that old technology and everything. But it was because it was big. And the problem with a big engine, it takes a while to be able to develop that kind of technology. Whereas a smaller engine, it's actually a bit easier to develop. And if you think about it, if you try to cram, the same amount of F1 engines that you will need to generate the same thrust as these 33 Raptor engines, you will need about 9, 10 of those F1 engines, more or less. And the problem is, surely you will have 9 or 10 engines of those, but then you arrive at the problem of like, what if you want to make a slightly taller rocket, a slightly bigger rocket? Then you're starting to cram like 10, 11, right? You're already getting to the point of like that big engine. You're putting a lot of them, a lot of engines of that big engine, and now you need to develop an even larger engine. So for rockets like this one, I'd say 33. It's okay. I don't care about small engine, big count of engines. Good for me.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you some quick homework to do. How many F1s would it take to lift a Starship, assuming the mass of the Starship doesn't change due to the fuel change? Let's just pretend there's a Methalox F1, same thrust, everything, blah, blah, blah. How many would it take to lift this stack? While you do the math, I am going to just mention another benefit of having many smaller engines is that you're making more engines, which means you can have an assembly line that's churning engines out at a faster rate. That means you have more engines to test. That also means, in theory anyways, due to economies of scale, that making your engines is actually cheaper. It's cheaper to make a lot of something than 10 of them. Because, I don't know, capitalism? So,
by the way, Alex, just to answer your question about, you don't know the conversion from metric to American units. That would be 675 bananas tall.
Wow.
How much
Wow,
in
Sawyer.
football fields?
In
Hey,
polo fields?
Football fields.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. My converter only converts to bananas.
Dang it. Do we have an answer on the F1 thing? I see chat saying between 9 and 12 is the most common answer in chat.
Yeah, at least for the baseline F1 engine, it will have been 11. I say baseline because it got improved a little bit over the whole program. But yeah, it was about 11 F1 engines. So you're already getting there at the point of like, is that already too many engines? Like, is 9 okay? Like Falcon 9, you know? Or is it when you start getting to double digits? Because that's another thing. When you get to the point of like many engines, right? That's, yeah.
Yep.
Where do you draw the line? But as I was saying, if you want even a slightly larger rocket than this, and we know that SpaceX is going to increment, you know, the height of the ship, the height of the booster, whatever. They're going to do stuff on this vehicle to make it taller. And by basically what they're going to do is develop more powerful versions of Raptor, but keeping sort of like the engine count about the same crazy number of like 33 engines or thereabouts. So what I'm trying to say is that if you keep with the F1 engine, you still have to add a lot more engines, and so you start crossing into the
Right.
to the point of like you have a big engine and lots of them. So yeah.
I think the other important thing is to have an engine, or at least in this case with multiples, where you have the option to gimbal and you have the option to thrust limit. So you don't have to run it at 100%,
Right.
and you have the ability to steer with it. I think that's the other benefit to having that many engines is you can, reduce some of them, say, to 70% thrust for part of the flight, like you see with the center core in a Falcon Heavy, where they reduce the thrust in the beginning and eventually throttle it up to full.
Yeah. Two things, good answers. Thank you, both of you. Two things to note. One, we have a poll in chat now that you listen to us rattle on about that. Engines, option A, lots of them, or option B, just a few massive ones. And right now, lots of engines is winning by a wide margin. The other thing I want to point out is chat is saying that there's ET on the booster in Frost, which is hilarious.
No, there is no external tank in this part. This isn't shuttle.
I somehow knew you were going to do that, but no. ET the extraterrestrial, which kind of bothers me as a name because it's like ATM machine. You're saying extraterrestrial twice, but whatever, I digress. Look at
I
the
will
cute
say
Frost on booster.
It looks like a 7-year-old tried to draw what they think ET looks like, personally, but yeah.
It's like that person that tried to fix that Renaissance painting and then completely butchered it. It's that
Yes.
version of ET. So yeah, we are continuing to watch this frost recede. We are hoping we see some indications that testing will continue or start up again, but right now they are detanking the vehicle. And so what we think we saw, potentially, maybe, was a partial wet dress rehearsal of the booster. We didn't see anything loaded on the ship. So that is sort of where we're at. I see some people joining and saying, just joined, did I miss the fun? Well, the fun hasn't stopped, but the testing, at least for now, we are into detanking. And as evidenced by the ever-diminishing frost here on the booster and the ET face, I think that that says it all right there. Yes, that face. You can switch back. Go ahead.
I want that on a shirt.
I do kind of want... If only DOS was on stream, we could get him to do DOS art. Maybe if we all wish hard enough. Oh my God, Chris B with the Simpsons gif, the glowing Mr. Burns. That's what it is. It's not ET. It's Mr. Burns from the X-Files episode of The Simpsons. Oh my God, it's amazing. I bring you thrust. That's amazing.
Let's get at him.
But he brings thrust. Let's get him. Oh man. Thanks. Now I gotta watch Simpsons for like the rest of the day whenever we're done wrapping up the stream.
Enhance.
Oh, we're gonna zoom in on it. I bring you thrust. Wow. It's uncanny.
Oh my gosh, it really is uncanny with that. Even the eye shape.
Yes. Oh wow. That's how you know we've been live for several hours, is because we're starting to see things in the frost on the tank.
I feel like this is a Rorschach test. Now tell me what you see in this frost.
I see myself in high school, and I didn't study for the test, and also I'm only wearing my underwear.
Oh, that happened
Wait,
to you
what?
too. Okay, glad it wasn't just me.
Matthew Dahl, thank you for the support. They say boop with an 8-month Capcom milestone. Eric Leindl, thanks for the support. They say, is there a control center at Boca for these tests, or is everything controlled from Hawthorne? There is a control center, and it is a few miles up the road from Starbase proper. You can see a picture of it there. Way to go, Patrick. On the ball. That is the control
same
center.
one, though? I think that's the Stargate, right?
Oh, I think that's up the road, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong. That might be Stargate. Either way,
is there
the
still
control
two,
center
or
that we
is it
saw-
just one?
I don't know. But I remember after, like the in some of the material that SpaceX released around IFT-1, they showed like Elon at the control center. That was the one that's up the road.
That's the one.
By the school, or?
Yeah. It's sort of near Massey's. That's what you're thinking of. But good question from Eric, and good operating there from Patrick. Good job, Patrick. Branson Stafford, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Mr. Morgan Kell, with a 38-month Capcom milestone. Thank you so much for being a Capcom member for 38 months. They say maple bacon. Can somebody please tweet this Mr. Burns thing? Like, I'm Chris B. I am talking to you right now. Can you please tweet the Mr. Burns thing? I know you're a busy man, but... Oh, wait, he did. He already did. He already did. Oh my god. That's the fastest retweet I've ever done in my life. That is brilliant. I bring you thrust. Hang on, I gotta quote tweet it.
NASA Spaceflight official, in case you're wondering, did link it in the YouTube chat.
There it is. I love that way too much. Thank you, Chris. That honestly kind of makes my... Yes, that's it. I bring you thrust. That's perfect.
We need to play the X-Files song.
Anyone that's not a Simpsons... No, we're not doing that. Copyright strike.
Copyright!
Anyone that's not a Simpsons fan right now is like, what is going on? But trust me, it's funny. The Fish, with a $5 super chat, says, we are fine. Go for launch. Thanks, Fish. I love it. If only they were the fish people, then it would be okay. But
no, that message is from the fish to the fish people.
All right. Well, now we just need the fish people to confirm that they got the message.
Exactly.
Like, I'm glad the message was sent, but Dominic, grabbing something from the store. Thank you, Dominic, for doing that. They say, thanks for the great work the NSF team does. If you guys don't know, you can get a little message in chat by buying something from the store, in the same way that you can get a message in chat by doing a super chat. It looks like Dominic there got the Starbase calendar. Love it. Thank you for buying that. We hope your 2024 is made all the better by the imagery that all of our photographers at NSF have painstakingly collected over 2023.
Here's hoping there's a lot of months that we can mark Starship flight on it.
Yeah, right? That's a good thing to hope for. The best shuttle, oh my god, was Atlantis. Type Atlantis. Type Atlantis. It's Atlantis.
No.
Type Atlantis. No. Patrick? Wow.
Okay, all right. I'll give him that. Of the orbiters that never flew into space, that is my favorite.
Wow.
How about that?
Common Patrick L. He's highlighting it. Okay, all right, moving on. Julian Falwell. Thank you for... I didn't even see what he wrote. I'm not even going to give him the satisfaction. Sure. Julian, thank you for 15 months as a Pad Rat member. They say, love the show. Awaiting a plushie hot stage ring. Oh, God. Yeah, I think Adrian just shot up from... If he was asleep, he just like woke up in a cold sweat. Like,
isn't that just what Velcro
Anonymous?
is? Is that not just a hot staging strip, I guess?
Yeah, it needs to be... no, I'm not going to go down this road. Anonymous, thank you for this. You tried. You almost got me. Anonymous getting a patch. They say hi from Tenby, Wales. Awesome. I was just in Wales. It's beautiful. Thank you for grabbing a patch and a print. Another one of those prints from Sean. That's excellent. And Methane Man. Thank you for the support. They say I confirm. What are you confirming, Methane Man? All right. Let's do some more questions as we watch Mr. Burns continue to bring us thrust from the side of the booster. How many team members does NSF expect to have in Texas for the next flight? Is it worth purchasing an NSF property for long-term accommodation? Probably not. But we do expect to have the team out in force. I mean, let me see if I can count it off the top of my head. This is going to be great TV here.
While you're doing that, I can suggest that if anyone is planning on going down to it, there is a hotel nearby, Margaritaville, which you can use !hotel to learn about.
Right, that's where this
So we
camera
made a
is.
video about
You can
Plug,
literally
plug.
have a You can literally have a hotel room with this view or a very similar view. You can wake up in the morning, look out your window, and see Starship sitting on the pad from I think 7 miles away. So yeah, that's the Margaritaville. It's a great place to stay if you're coming down to the area. But
There you
let's
go.
see. We'll have me. I think Max is coming out. We'll have Sean. I think Das might be here. So that's at least 4. Mary, of course, that's 5. Who knows who else? But rest assured, the team will be out in force.
So between 1 and 8 billion, more or less.
Ha
correct.
ha ha.
And
Right.
and it'll happen sometime between now and the heat death of the universe.
Exactly.
Well, I can
Here's a fun-
guarantee you that I will actually not be there, but I will be here, hopefully in the studio, to help guide people through the launch itself.
Thank you for
At least
that,
the countdown
because
to it.
as much as we need people in the field, which we really do, we also need people in the studio to sort of keep things on the rails, which I swear I can be good at sometimes.
Wait, we're already in the studio now, and none of us are on the rails, so...
What's a
Well,
rail?
Jack is kind of in the field.
He is the field, not in the field.
I'm
Okay,
I'm
right.
like semi in the field because I'm not actually at Starbase, but I'm I don't know, 12 miles away in the place that I'm staying. So
You're just the field. It's okay.
okay, I'm in the field. I am field.
No, yes, you are field.
W for WWW Raker. Thanks for the support there. Generous super chat. They say for Jack's Enterprising Bacon Fund. Ha! Do you approve of that one, Sawyer?
I approve. Very much.
Thank you. All right. Nardo is asking, what are your assumptions on how many flights a single booster and or ship are able to do when they will be fully reused? I don't even think we know that number for Falcon 9 yet, so it's hard to say for the ship. So I'm going to say whatever Falcon 9's number is right now. What is it, 16, 17?
17, there are 2 boosters that are at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm going to say 17 because I'm boring. Sawyer, what do you think?
That really is boring. I mean, my understanding right now is the goal for...
Ouch! Ouch, my feelings.
I'm sorry. Don't worry, you're still S tier.
Yes.
But the goal, from my understanding, for currently is to hit 20 flights with each Falcon 9 booster, and then potentially keep trying to go to 30 and so on. I think eventually, especially if the rate picks up as much as it's expected to, I could see each booster hitting 30 at least here for Starship as well. So I'm going to go with at least 30 for now. As the flight rate picks up, I think that number will increase even further down the line.
Alex, give us a good answer. Don't
Hey.
it's hard to say. Blah, blah, blah. Give us something good, man.
Are you saying mine wasn't
Hard
good
to
answer?
say.
No, yours was good. Yours was good. Alex, model your answer after Sawyer's. It was
Oh,
good.
jeez.
I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna say boosters 100 times. And
Wow.
ships
I like that number.
up to maybe 20 to 30, 50 times. I don't know. Yeah. Like a couple
Great.
dozen times.
I love it.
for ships.
Nice. Good job. I hope we
mean-
get to that. I hope we get to that point.
I mean, they were fun fact, the space shuttles were designed to fly at least 100 missions each. Obviously, there was some reusability and refurbishment issues that made that not necessarily possible, but it's not like it's unheard of to say, oh, we can get a vehicle to be reused 100 times. That was NASA's goal.
All right. Well, as we continue to watch the frost fade here and Mr. Burns is slowly going away, I do want to let everybody in chat know that we do have NASA Spaceflight Live coming up because it's Sunday, and that's our weekly show on Sundays. And that starts here in 16 minutes. So,
But
yeah.
wait, this is a very special one because not only are we getting an update on New Horizons after its flyby of Pluto from one of the main scientists involved with it, Alan Stern.
Right.
That name sounds familiar. He was also announced as a crew member of Galactic 05, so he will be flying to the edge of space as well in the coming week or two.
Yeah, super exciting. I'm so excited for Alan to be on NSF Live, and I'm sure it's going to be an epic one. So yeah, that's coming up here in 15 minutes or so. I think what we'll do is we'll keep taking your questions and we'll keep hanging out here. And then when we get to NSF Live time, we'll all just go over there and we can keep Starbase Live on in our periphery to see if anything is going down in Starbase, if they start testing here again. And if anything does start happening, we'll probably go live with a dedicated stream again. But yeah, let's all go hang out and watch NSF Live here in like 15 minutes. But before then, we got some more of your awesome questions to go through. First off, Anonymous just says for the bacon, and they grabbed multiple items from the store. Thank you so much for doing that. They got a hoodie, and they got, what else did they get? It's not going to show me. It's not going to show me. Either way, thank you, Anonymous, for grabbing some merch. James is asking, is the visible vapor leaked oxygen, or is it condensed water vapor? It's condensed water vapor, right? That's my understanding. Sawyer?
That's my understanding as well, yes. Again, when you're talking about things on the outside of the vehicle, keep in mind that the inside is super chill. The outside, again, it's ambient temperature. You have things like humidity being right along the Gulf there. So you will see that kind of condensation, basically, on the outside. It's kind of like if you leave your Coke can out, but instead of Coke inside, it was liquid oxygen.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Thank you. Yes. So I guess Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever your soda/pop/soda pop of choice may be. Just trying to be
Good deal.
as fair as possible there.
Sawyer, look at Control Center.
I see it. No, that's why I'm going on about Coca-Cola. That's why I'm talking about Coca-Cola and liquid oxygen here. So, anyway, besides all of that, let's continue along here talking more about Starship. And we have this interesting question that, Alex, I will pose this one to you from Xavier saying, we talk about the many updates to Starship, but are there any noteworthy updates to the OLM and Tower besides the new deluge system, aka upside down showerhead?
Well, I don't think they will test it, to be honest, because we saw a lot of the equipment, not equipment, but like they have this kind of rope coordinating the whole perimeter of the OLM. That kind of implies that it's, it's just basically coordinated and everything, like it's all closed off. And when they did the testing of that system, they did not have that stuff. They did have I think it was like a bag or something at one point in one of the covers or something, but that was mostly to cover one of the parts of the OLM, which is already now well covered with its own real cover and everything. So yeah, it was okay. Yeah, I don't really know.
I mean, I know you were talking earlier. I guess this is kind of related to the OLM with the extra tanks being added over the tank farm there. Like you said, they haven't really been connected yet, but I guess that could count technically as an OLM
Yeah,
upgrade.
it definitely is. The only thing is that we obviously don't think it's gonna happen for this flight, but it might happen for the next few flights. Like once they launch this one, they might just start to plug in everything and then test the new systems, the new hardware and everything that they have installed. And once they have that, then we can probably see an actual launch using it. But for now, we've seen it installed but not plugged in. So it's like, I don't know. What will be the way for you to sort of put an example like that? I don't know. I'm thinking something like, oh, I'm buying a vacuum or something, and then you don't plug it in. It's just in your house or something, and it's not plugged in. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a way of
Honestly,
like,
that's like me in my house
put an
too, but that's just
example.
because I'm too lazy.
Yeah, right.
But the other thing, I know it's been a hot minute since a hot fire, but it did seem like, the legs of the OLM were able to withstand a lot more, especially, again, part of that, the deluge plate, I'm guessing upgrades as well to that since we last saw the testing there. It feels like there's just been more upgrades, and also the whole fact that since the previous flight, they did have to increase the height of it to take into account for the hot staging ring.
Hi,
Who are you?
I'm the field.
Oh, hi, Field. Go ahead.
Hi. That's it. What if that's all I said and I just stayed quiet and you were like, what do I even do? James.
I have hosted streams before, sir. I can jump in.
Oh, I know, but like, have you ever had a handoff that horrible before?
Oh,
James,
yes.
thank you for grabbing something from the store. They say thanks for all your hard work, especially those behind the scenes that make all the ones and zeros flow. Yes, thank you to DOS. Thank you to Andrew. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to our SBL ops. Thank you to everybody that supports what we do in one way or the other, whether that's just hitting the like button or actively getting involved. It looks like James got Sean's Ship 26 print. Good stuff. That's a beautiful print.
Are we just going to ignore Patrick, who's actually operating the stream?
What did Patrick do? Oh, oh my gosh. I just said, what did Patrick do? He's operating the stream. Sorry. I was
Behind the
thinking he said something in chat or was goading me into doing something. I thought he was like messing with me. Yes, Patrick is operating today's stream and he's doing a phenomenal job as always. Thank you, Patrick. Coco Cats gifting a Red Team membership. And Gus F with a 27-month Capcom milestone. I wonder if that's Gus Fring. They say, let's go. Rainbow Fish with a question here. And again, we have NSF Live coming up in like 8 minutes. So we'll take a couple more questions and we'll wrap things up. If anything starts happening again, we can do another dedicated stream. And if you want to keep a watch of Starbase in the meantime, while you watch NSF Live, pull up a second monitor and pull up Starbase Live because these views ain't going anywhere. We're just going to go all hang out and watch NSF Live. Anyways, Rainbow Fish, they're saying the version of the rocket shown by SpaceX Human Landing System, that's what they wrote, has mid-level rocket ports. Do you think, by chance, at this part of the rocket could detach when they leave? Maybe the third stage? No. Those seem like those are landing engines, if anything, because you sort of don't want to land with a Raptor engine on the moon because it can kick up a lot of lunar regolith. In fact, you can do so with such a velocity that you send some of that regolith into lunar orbit, which is not good because, micrometeoroid damage is bad. So that's a thing. Slayer, Alex, does either of you have anything to add here?
I think this is also... Oh, go ahead, Alex.
No, go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, I feel like this is very different from something like Apollo, where, again, you had the entire lander that would go down, but the base would stay. and then you would have the kind of ascent stage. I think this is different in the fact that Starship is meant to be completely and fully reusable. So it's not like you're throwing it away on the moon. You want to be able to reuse it again. So at that point, I don't see any reason to leave any part of it on the moon, especially once Lunar Gateway is up and running and you have a place to say, all right, you know what? We can lift off from the surface and then we can just hang out at Gateway, wait till there's another refueling tanker, and then send it back down to the surface again, and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Very good point. Merlio? I'm sorry. I'm butchering this name. But they have a 3-month Red Team milestone, and they're asking if we have any thoughts about a recycle. It could happen. There's a lot left in the testing window. The road is still closed. So
also
you never
separate your
say never.
papers from your cans.
Yes. Wow.
Oh wait, wrong
God.
recycle. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you knew that. Don't pretend you didn't know that.
But it's funnier when I pretend I didn't.
Good deal. So yeah, never say never. They could get back into testing here. Again, the closure today goes till 8 p.m. But I think we're about the point where we're going to start wrapping up the stream here. We've got 5 minutes till NASA Spaceflight Live. We're all going to go hang out and watch Alan Stern talk with, it's DOS, right? Alan Stern and DOS?
I think so.
I believe so. But yeah, again, this is the person who's working on the mission that got us our first ever images of Pluto and is scheduled to go to the edge of space in the next couple weeks. So if that doesn't sound like an awesome conversation, I don't know what does.
Right. Yeah, I'm particularly excited for this one. And we've had some really good guests, so that's how you know it's going to be extra good. So yeah, if they do recycle and start testing again, we'll probably go live with a dedicated stream once again. But until such time as they do, we will start wrapping this one up here pretty soon.
Soon,
and we'll
not
keep an eye
yet.
on the roadblock via Starbase Live. Yeah, not yet. We're still going. We're still got some questions to answer here. I'm just letting you all know where we're going.
Still tag
And I
us
got a
at
dog.
NASA Spaceflight with questions.
Yes, you're a dog. Yes, I'm busy right now.
Now
hello.
you know how I feel with Jake.
Right. I have a dog half on my lap right now, so I'm rapidly approaching Sawyer flex levels, but I don't think I'll ever beat you.
What's your astronaut count at?
Oh, dude, come on! I did get flown in a fighter jet by Kid Petite.
Okay, yeah, admittedly, that was awesome. Yeah. For those wondering, my astronaut/cosmonaut count, I believe, is 103.
Holy moly!
Okay,
to you,
well,
Sawyer.
I guess I have to go. Bye.
What? I didn't even mention yet that includes the entire crew of Apollo 11 and the entire crew of STS-135.
Good deal. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, just what? Flex after flex from Sawyer here. No one can stand up to that.
Well, I know I can't stand up to that.
I somehow knew you were going to do
You
that.
walked right into that one. Come on.
I really did. I really did.
And yes, Kevin. Yes, C7 ouchie. I did go on the Vomit Comet as well. It was
So
actually
awesome.
just
Flex.
2 years ago for the first ever
I saw
flight
your
from Astro
anniversary tweet.
Access. Yes, it was through Astro
Yeah.
Access, which is an organization, by the way, that allows people with disabilities to go onto these zero gravity flights and conduct research and experiments to prove that space is for anyone and everyone, and that accessibility doesn't take that much. You know, it doesn't take much to make these brand new spacecraft accessible. I mean, literally, all I needed to make mine happen, to make it so that it was easier for me, was some Velcro, so I didn't do the splits in microgravity. It was a
Right.
Velcro strap, and it made it super accessible for me. So things like that.
This is why you're S tier commentary, Sawyer. One of the many reasons. I mean, also the puns and just the delightful commentary. But I don't know if I've told you this. One of my very favorite moments on any NASA spaceflight stream ever was one where you and I were commentating, and I forget exactly what even stream it was or what we were talking about, but you spoke about your experience flying. I think it was a NASA Spaceflight Live.
It was, yeah.
You spoke about your experience with weightlessness, and it deeply moved me. Put it that way.
I
I'm
mean, it
being
was the
called
first time
by a person.
It was the first time I got to stand in 15 years. It was great.
Yeah, that's so special. I mean, wow. If you want to talk about your experience a little bit more, like you got to be weightless. Like, what was that even like? I've always wanted to do that my entire life. I mean,
We need an NSF 0G flight, just saying. Because I totally want to go again.
oh my God, can you imagine? Can you imagine? It's just like you, me, Das, Adrian, Alex, Chris B.
No. I wouldn't be there.
No, we'd force you. We would drug and force you.
No. I get sick very easily.
Oh man. Well, we'll give you a bag. We'll give you like like the feeder bags they put on horses. We'll just give you one of those, but instead of a feeder, well, you get the idea.
Here's the thing. I am proud to admit, and every time I put on my flight suit, I show it off. I carry it with me. In the pocket, the exact pocket that I put it in the first time before the flight, is my empty vomit bag. I did not use it. I did not need it.
Nice.
So I have it with me as a souvenir.
Would you ever have guessed that you had a vomit bag as a souvenir?
I was hoping that I could keep it, because obviously if it was used, I would not want to keep that, but it wasn't, so.
Right.
But yeah, it was just such an amazing feeling, because it was interesting, because for me, just while we're talking a minute about it, for those who don't know, I do use a wheelchair, and have for the last, since 06, I can't do math right now. What was that, 17 years? Something like that.
It's a number of years.
Thank you. Yes, that's why I went to journalism, was so I don't have to do math. But anyway, so they started off with the Mars gravity, which is 1/3 G's, to kind of, slowly get you accustomed. And I was bouncing around kind of on one hand, like, okay, this is fine. And then we get to lunar gravity, which is 1/6 of Earth's gravity. And I do the same thing, figuring I'll bounce around again on one hand. So I push off with one hand, and all of a sudden my legs kind of acted like a pivot point. And the next thing I know, I'm standing upright. Like, oh my gosh, I did not expect that to happen. And so thankfully I had two people that were with me assisting. I put one arm on each of them, and I literally was standing for the first time in 15 years. And I remember we had a couple of lunar gravity ones. We had two. So when we got down and they were getting ready for the next lunar parabola, they're like, so what do you want to do on this one? I'm like, I want to do that again. So I did, and got to stand again. So that was cool.
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing again, Sawyer. I will never, ever not want to hear about that. And we need to go again, you need to go again. I need to go. We need to do an NSF 0G flight. It's so impossible to do with how much money that would probably cost, but we can dream, right?
It's not unrealistic.
Fair.
So.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where, some people are like, oh, why do we spend so much money on space and we have problems here on Earth? And it's like, yeah, we do have problems on Earth, and we can solve Earth problems and space problems at the same, it doesn't have to be just one or the other. And sometimes solving those problems in space and having to deal with weightlessness enable you to experience or learn things that you might not have otherwise learned. And that's what it's all about, right?
Exactly. And again, that's the beauty of space. It's this great equalizer. It really is the fact that anyone can do it, because there were people in that flight that were fully able-bodied, and they struggled to move around. And by the end of the flight, all of us were kind of at the point of, we grew adjusted to it. It was nimble. We were moving around, doing flips, all of the things that you're used to seeing. But yeah, it just, I don't know. It really was unbelievable.
The look on your face in the pictures says it all. That's just the face of sheer joy. That's absolutely sheer joy right there.
You can tell that was the first parabola of 0G, as opposed to the other one, which was the lunar gravity, where it's, oh my gosh, my legs are floating upward.
I love it. I love it so much. Alrighty. Well, we are continuing to watch detanking of Booster 9. It's probably about wrapping up with a detank here. It does appear as though the frost is almost completely gone, and we're not seeing a lot of activity from the orbital tank farm. So the question now is, what happens next? Do they do some more testing? Was that it for today? We don't know the answer to that. SpaceX doesn't, send us a little memo that says this is the plan for today. So we're just in the same boat as y'all, or dare I say, we're in the same ship, where we are just waiting and watching to see what is going to happen next. So
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what appears to be depressed vents going on as well. But like you said, we've seen it where they totally detank something and then all of a sudden there's a different form of testing out at the pad still.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we could see the FireX spool up. We could see a deluge test, although I kind of doubt that one. We could see we could see a QD arm throwback. Who knows? There's all manner of things that SpaceX might want to test, and they have a closure today from now, which is 2 p.m. local, all the way till 8 p.m. local. And they could use all of it. They could use only 30 more minutes of it. We just don't know. And that's the nature of tank watching, right?
Exactly. And as of now, I believe the roadblock is still up there. My question then for you, Jack, is have they tested certain things still after, a test like this ends with the pad not being totally cleared? Can they still do some testing?
With the pad not being totally cleared, I'm not sure. I don't think I can say yes to that. Although it's hard to say. I don't claim to have a canonical memory of every single instance of testing down in Starbase. So I don't want to say definitively, but I think basically if the pad's not clear, they're not going to be doing anything major. If they're going to be doing anything serious, then they're going to clear the pad. So, oh man, maybe 1 or 2 more questions here, and then it's fun time. And by that I mean NASA Spaceflight Live. Don't forget, Sawyer, who do we have on as our special guest?
We have Alan Stern, who is one of the main scientists behind the New Horizons mission that flew by Pluto, and what's next for it now that it's past Pluto. In addition to, again, the fact that he will be flying near the edge of space on Virgin Galactic no earlier than November 2nd.
Good deal. Excited for him to get to experience that. What I really want, I really want to watch this episode of NASA Spaceflight Live because it's going to be awesome. But
oh yeah,
what I really want, if I'm being greedy, I would love Alan to come back after he flies and so we can talk about the lead up here in this episode, and then we can talk about the experience after in a future episode maybe. It's not something I don't think we've talked to Alan about that or anything yet, but
what I can say is
I'm just putting
that
it out in the universe.
I have talked to one of the other people that will be flying on this mission, Kelly Girardi, who's also a good science communicator as well. I may or may not be talking to her after the flight as well for something for NSF.
Nice. Amazing. All right. Well, I think it's NSF Live time, y'all. Let's all go hang out and watch this episode of NASA Spaceflight Live, which is our weekly Sunday show. I believe it's about to go live here on YouTube in just a moment, but as a quick summary of everything that we saw today here in Starbase. They closed the road promptly right at 8 a.m. They loaded some what appeared to be propellants, and I use that word specifically because we suspect, although we don't know for sure, that it was methane and liquid oxygen. And they did a partial load of the booster, no load on the ship, and then they detanked the booster. The road is still closed. We are waiting to see if they do anything next, and we have the option of going back live again here if more events start happening. That is sort of the state of play. So, yeah. Alex, thank you so much for being on commentary today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Excellent. Sawyer, thank you so much for being on commentary today.
Thank you for letting me use up a bunch of my stored pun tokens.
Absolutely, buddy. Anytime. Thank you to Trevor for being on earlier. And, of course, thank you to Kevin in the background. I believe he started the stream producing. And thank you to Patrick in the background. I believe he is also wrapping up the stream producing. So, yeah, let's go watch NSF Live. Woo!
Let's do it.
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks. You know the drill. John Galloway with NSF here. Time for another NSF Live today.